This is Rhevok from Mordant Rhed and also Clawhammer Coven, and I'll see you in the Tampa Morgue. Ah!
You know, it's about time that Satan just fucking busts out of the fucking ground his big-ass diseased cock and just thrusts it into this fucking pussy-ass world and fucks the shit out of it.
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue, episode 84, season 2. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host from his studio in Tampa Bay, Florida, Mr. Ed Webb. How you doing, man?
Mr. Anderson, what's up, brother? This is going to be an epic show of all proportions, and I cannot wait to get this shit done.
You know,
Sorry,
it's
brother.
funny you do that right there, man. And it's funny with the guest we
Sorry.
have, which we'll mention it. I know that's good, dude, because when we edit the show, when I first, when I first introduced whatever, when we first start, I'm always like, man, I need to fucking wake up a little bit. I sound like I've been smoking, 24/7. Yeah. So it's, I'm glad you did that, man. And
Well, I'm getting
yeah,
ready because I think we're going to have a good one today. I foresee craziness in the future. Hope we're not canceled, but it'll be it's gonna be fun, man. I have a good feeling about the show today. Usually it's musicians that I know or bands that we've listened to and know a lot about, but when you told me about the dude, I actually checked him out, and yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show, man. And we'll do what we usually do. We'll
WWE meets music. Here we go. Let's go.
Yeah, it's going to be no one's going to be falling asleep tonight. It's going to be a pretty active show. So definitely looking forward to, what we got going on this eve. So it was you're right too. And like I said, when I listen back, sometimes like, man, I got to wake up in the beginning of the show. Usually it takes me a few to, plus we got a bunch of background shit going on that we're trying to make sure is, we've had some bugs on the show before where things are failing on us during the beginning. So, you never know.
Technology's not 100% yet, man.
Yeah.
We're working it though.
We're getting it. We're learning as we go, as we always say. And Ed, you've had an interesting week or two, right? Someone put a bullet in your vehicle.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know we were going to bring that up. Yeah, man.
How could we not get Ed wild up in the beginning? That's the way you got to do it when you got a show like this.
Fuck, man. I forgot all about that. Now you want to bring it back up. Yeah. So I was outside talking to our old friend, Danny Santana, and we were just bullshitting sitting at my truck. And he's like, dude, what's up? What's that right there? And I look, and Sure enough, there was a hole going through the hood of my fucking $60,000 truck, that I got from my dad, and I try to keep as pristine as I can. And dude, I dodged a bullet, metaphor meant to be,
Well,
because
yeah.
wherever it went through the hood, it had to have been shot into the air the way it came down, because it literally, the hood must have stopped it. Because if it were directly shot into the hood, it would have fried, because it's right where my electric, all my harness is, my AC, everything's right there where right on the passenger side at the windshield. Like another foot, it would have smashed in my windshield. And Mark Prater came by. He saw it. He was like, "What the fuck, dude?" Because he lives around the corner from us, And if you don't know who Mark Prater is, he's a engineer that worked at Morrisound. He did all the generic Christ stuff.
Red Room
He
Studios.
Red Room. He did my vocals for the new Monstrosity. So definitely a known guy. And he was like, "Dude, I wound up calling the cops the next day, and they came out, and they were like, they couldn't make a report because there's no bullet. Like,
So
I
what, do
have
you
to tear
walk
it.
out there and just see this in
Yeah,
the morning and are
yeah,
like,
man.
what
We
the
just see
fuck?
Danny, has military experience. So he right away knew like the caliber of the bullet. He's like, "Dude," and we popped the hood, and you could see where it went into the plastic of the under the hood. There's like where the windshield wiper plastic part is, and it covers all the harness and all the hardware. You can see where it cracked in there, but I couldn't see anything. And you know, um, Mark might have thought somebody came up with like a fucking spear or something. And I'm like, "Well, dude, I have a Ring camera that points at my." I went back 3 days, and the thing was, I drove my truck the day before, and there was nothing like there was nothing with the car because I washed my car. So it had to have happened overnight. Yeah, I'm pissed because
I would
my
have loved to see
deductible
in your face when
you know,
you
my
saw this,
deductible isn't even worth making a claim with my insurance, so I'm gonna have to fix it myself. So right now, I just put some like not epoxy, but sealant in there so that water can't go through the hood, and then I'll figure out how to get it fixed. I'm just, yeah, I was more bummed out because it's my dad's truck. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
kind of like when I was driving my mom's car after getting the oil change, and which was my wife's car now, and the
Was that the
fucking
one the
wheel
guy
fell
forgot to
off.
put the
So
fucking
yeah,
tires on?
so I'm just like, you guys are fucking up. What the fuck, man? Yeah, they're sending me emails, "Bro, bring your car in. We'll take care of it for service." Bro, I'd fucking rather take it to the, you know, I'm not going to say anything, but I'd rather take it to like Quickie Lube or something before I take it to them. I got
Yeah,
a
and those
better
who don't
chance.
know, Ed picked up his car was you earlier episode, probably like last year now, right? And
Yeah.
they forgot to bolt on the tires, and
Yeah, they
Ed's
didn't put the
tires are
lug nuts
rolling
on the
off the
front wheel, and
vehicle.
it fucking came off and destroyed the whole fender, and it was a whole thing. And I'm telling you what, if you wanted to see like WWE Angry Ed like cutting promos, that would have somebody should have rolled camera on that one, because I I almost choke slam literally, like when the guy's like, "It's really not that big of a deal," and I just was like, "Dude," I said, "Dude, I need you out of my face right, like right now. You
I
need to step
remember
away
because I
from."
spoke to you like during that
I
probably the
texted you
same
right.
hour it
I
happened.
was
Yeah.
messaging you with pictures while the dude with the do rag was under the car, fucking jacking it up to put the tires on, and I'm like, "You piece of dog shit."
And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Hey, dude, you ready to do the show?" And you're like,
Well, you
you're
thought it was
having a
Bryce because Bryce used to
yeah.
wear the do rag. You're
Yeah.
like, "Is that Bryce?" I'm like, "No, that's the fucking dummy who And I remember the guys walking up and down the street looking for the lug nuts, and I walked in the bay where you're not supposed to, and I took a picture. They were right on top of the lift. He never put them on the fucking car. He never put them on. So yeah, so that like I said, that was my mom's car. She passed. Bryce got it, and then my wife took over from him because he didn't want to make car payments. And then I get the truck from my dad, and this truck is a 2020 Ford F-150. It's literally got 13,000 miles on it. It's like nothing in 5 years,
Then you
and
get
I'm
a
trying to keep
Tampa
it
bullet in it.
pristine. And you saw what it looked like. It was like
That's a
brand new,
beautiful
man. It
truck.
was, and I got a bullet hole. So now I guess we'll call him 50 Cent or something,
Yeah.
because
Well, I thought I'd
it
fire you
survived.
up before the episode since we
Yeah.
got Rhevok coming on, from Mordant Rhed. And actually, we actually opened up the show with My Hatred Burns from Mordant Rhed.
I'm
from
feeling
the
that right
album
now. Thank you.
"Eat Pussy for Satan" is the name of the record that came out September
Uh,
2024.
every time you say that, dude, I just can't stop.
It's a
I mean,
great title. I mean, I think of like, there were certain bands that, I remember even the Dwarves, like the punk band, the Dwarves, who I grew up loving, the whole teach children to worship Satan on the back of their shirts and the lyric from Young and Good Looking record. Some, what do you call it? Slug lines. Some are just
yes.
perfect. And I
Well,
think,
I
you
mean, the
know,
old Jesus is a cunt from Cradle
yeah,
of Filth, which
Cradle of
I mean, when I would
Filth,
see people
who has a
wearing,
new album out too.
yeah, when I would see people wearing the shirt, I would just be like, how are you wearing that in public, man? Come
People were
on.
getting thrown out of malls when I was a
I
kid for
know.
that and stuff, and it was a
Yeah.
big deal, yeah, I mean, but I mean, "Eat Pussy for Satan," we're gonna talk to Rhevok about that, we have him coming on from Mordant Rhed, he has the channel,
It's a good thing
and
you have good young kids because,
yeah, it's
that's
a good thing
awesome.
they're not around the studio right now, um, but, well, I started watching him, I don't know, it was months ago, maybe, I mean, I don't I'm so bad with times when but I started watching him one day, I don't I think it might have been on the Vincent Crowley channel, 'cause, we've had Vince on the show, I'm an Asheron fan, Vincent Crowley band, so I don't know if it was from that, it might have been that or Justin's channel from Hell's Headbangers, but I first
I
saw
saw
him
I saw him with Crowley.
Crowley. It might have been Crowley too for me. I saw the mask and I couldn't at first I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" So I had to check it out and the dude has an interesting channel, a lot of like horror stuff on it, which totally, for me, that's a draw in. He talks about a lot of old records, record labels and stuff like that.
And
Just
he's got that punk mixed with black metal, which you would think that wouldn't work, but it kind of does.
yeah. And I mean,
Because
on that new record, you can hear that.
it's almost like, and I don't want to say comparison, but like what we're going for with the Crooked Casket, the punker, more punky,
Yeah, no rules, right? You
hardcore-ish.
can kind of do whatever you want.
But
Have
imagine
that.
like you doing black metal vocals over that. That's kind of what it reminds me of. And
Yeah.
it's the riffs are great. Like
Yeah.
I'm listening to these songs and I'm like, if that was a true punk band, like with a punk singer, it probably would be huge. But when you put those kind of black metal vocals, you kind of put yourself in a box a little bit because people can't accept cool shit. You know what I mean? They always like, oh my God, because I've heard 100 times over, man, that was a great song until that dude sang. And it's usually death metal because, the growls. I
And
remember
Revok's
somebody
got
tell me,
killer vocals too, I gotta say, man.
yeah,
It's totally, you can understand a lot of the words and, I don't know. Yeah, Mordant Red, I did and that's the thing is, you look at the mask, we say that and stuff, and it actually, for me, it introduced me to the band because I actually was not familiar with their material until then. So, and this episode is kind of a spur of the moment thing because I know I just got a hold of you the other day and was like, "Dude, I think we're gonna have, Revok come on," and I talked to Revok maybe 2 days ago. I was like, "Hey, you wanna come on the episode and hang out?" And he's like, "Yeah." Me and him were going back and forth prior, and, so it's gonna be
yeah,
fun, man. I'm
we were
looking
going to
forward
do
to
our
this
own
one.
episode and
Yeah.
just have him pop in.
Yeah, and I was like, "You
That
know
was the
what?
plan. And then
Come
now
hang."
it's going to turn into probably a whole episode because of not only the band, but his podcast, which, you know, that's good, man, because we don't pigeonhole ourselves and have to get all these high fluent
We
people.
like
You know
bands
what
we
I mean?
listen to. That's one thing about us. We get bands that we like or that how would you put it? We don't like, we get the press list all the time. Like, this is what's available, this and that. And, if we're not interested, we don't do it. Nothing against the bands at all. It's just we do this show once a week, and for us, we both have lives outside of this. I got 2 young kids. Ed has a million things going on the side, plus monstrosity and, the whole family thing, which Ed is the family guy at his house taking care of everything. It's this is what, so for us, we kind of pick and choose like what we can get. And I'm excited, man. Like, last week we had, which we talked about John Walker from Cancer, which was awesome. I
That was
mean, because
great.
that's someone we grew up listening to, and it was a great conversation. I got a lot of killer feedback on that. So, anybody hasn't heard that, that was episode 83 with John Walker from Cancer. And it was about, what, 2 hours, I want to say? About 2 hours with him. We hung out
Yeah,
and just,
that's
go
usually
through.
that's our average.
Yeah, it's
You
about the
know,
average for us, we've gone longer, obviously, but, that was a great episode. So, yeah, so tonight we're gonna have Revok come on. It's gonna be a fun episode, and like usual, we got some stuff in the beginning to take care of. I will say I did see God Dethroned on, what was it, Saturday, Ed? You probably know more. Well, when did I go see God Dethroned? You know my schedule better than I did. I think it was Saturday night. in
I believe that's
Vilnius.
correct.
Yeah, 'cause my daughter's birthday was the same morning, so we had a party for her, and then me and my wife went up to Vilnius to go see God Dethroned. Henry and them were killer. That was
On
a
the
great show.
70-foot stage.
Fucking weird stage, man, right? That was the thing, dude. You saw that? Like, so
You
I
sent
was
me
right
the
in the front.
picture. You sent me the picture, and then I saw Sabina put one up, and I was like, uh, how my neck would hurt
Dude, you
looking up
couldn't
and
even see the drummer if you're up front.
yeah,
Like, I was up
it
front,
was
and you could
terrible.
see, you could see the band, but you couldn't see the drummer. You couldn't even really see the banner. It was a very interesting place. I think it's more of like a I don't wanna say this wrong, 'cause I know I've been to that venue once before. I think it might be more of like a place where DJs play at and
DJs,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, but it was really
because they
nice
don't want
venue.
people hopping up on the stage. That's
Yeah.
probably why they do that. Because I think the place we played in Poland, the stage was like really not. I don't think that high up, but it was definitely. I looked down, and it was a good distance down to the barricades that they had set up. So I was always like, man,
This is the highest stage I've ever seen, I have to be honest, man, this one.
yeah, that was
It
pretty
was like
big when I
I
saw
mean,
it too, man.
not compared to festivals, of course, because you have that fence in front of and stuff,
That's
but
different.
this was pretty high, and, like you said, it was but God Dethroned killed it. I think it was a one-off show for them. They flew here for the show, so that was great. And, what else is going on, Ed? So I guess we should mention, like I said, we have releases, we have a few shows, and then we're gonna get to, Rhevok from Mordant Rhed, and we're gonna do that. Let me see here. What should we start with here? I guess one thing we should mention, we talked about your car getting shot up. Um, I guess we should mention that the video shoot we're gonna because I know it's this weekend, so anybody in the Tampa area who wants to go to this, it's let me see
In
here.
human
April
condition
6th in human
at 4
condition.
o'clock at 4 p.m. at the Orpheum. Yep.
Orpheum, which is yeah. So that's for the new single they have out. So I think it is. I know they put a single out called "Severely Lifeless" because I know they have a new record coming out on in 2025. I don't know the exact date. It's coming out on Listenable Insanity Records, and it's going to be called Mind Trap. But they will be shooting a video. It's free to go. And like Ed said, it's April 6th. Ed, what time is that? 4 p.m.
4 p.m. 4 p.m.
And there was some kind of what they wanted you to dress, not you, but the people that go there. They're like, look, if you
It's
dress
something
really
about if the most Florida dressed person going to win a prize. I don't know what does that mean? Dress up like a cowboy, a scarecrow. I mean, I don't know what that means,
palm
but
tree or something like
something,
alligator,
man. I don't know.
flamingo, something
Dude, that
like
would be
that.
awesome if somebody walked in, like the blow up dinosaur
I'm sure there will be.
outfits. If
Yeah.
you had one that was an alligator and you just walked in, if that didn't win the prize, I'd have to kick Jeremy in the nuts because
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't get much better than walking in as an alligator. That's as
Yeah.
Florida as it gets, man. It was
Well, we
on the
need to get
damn
Jeremy on here one day too, actually.
yeah.
That's one thing we should probably do since we know those guys.
We used the gator on the Florida Metal Fest thing we did
Yes,
with Obituary. So
I actually
if
could
that's
see that.
not if they used it, it's got to be metal. You know what I mean? And Florida centric because that's what I would say. I'd tell them, you win prize, bro. It's over.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to go to that, like I said, they'll be shooting a video April 6th, rain or shine at the Orpheum, which is 14802 North Nebraska Avenue, 4 p.m. for Inhuman Condition video shoot. So for all
Yeah,
you
they already did
Tampa,
a little part in a
uh,
pool. I saw.
yeah, it was like a skate. They did the whole skate thing, right? They had all the
Yeah,
skaters
they were in
going
the
around
middle
them
of
and
the
stuff.
the pool, the empty pool, and dudes were skateboarding around them. I saw. It looks like it's going to be pretty killer, man. I mean, Deidre, Jeremy's
The
woman.
photographer, she does
Yeah,
photography. Yeah.
she's an awesome photographer, and I think she might do video too. It looked like she was. So I saw they had a guy videoed too. So, but her pictures are off the chart.
Yeah, I saw her last at so Kling. I went to Kling's house. I don't know, maybe it was man. It must have been like 3 years ago now when I went to I went to record something that actually never even came out. But I went to do something for some project that I don't know what happened with the project. I think they like got in an argument with their drummer and everything went down the drain. But I went to do some backup vocals on this project for them. I went to Kling's house because he actually has a studio in his living room. So yeah, I mean, Inhuman Condition, obviously I'm sure when this album comes out, they're going to have success. Terry, you played with Terry before with
They're a
Massacre
great
and
band. I said it when
Hideous.
we played with them on the cruise last year. They were, I mean, because Jeremy runs the sound before they play, so he gets everybody set up, and then he just does vocals. So all he has to do is get it. They have a wireless mic, so he gets his vocals set up. He gets the bands, and they sounded like they were probably one of the best sounding bands on the cruise.
Yeah.
hands down. Like,
Yeah, you were telling me that, right? Actually, you told me that right when I taught you right when you get off the cruise.
we
That was
were,
the
and
one of the
we
first things
walked
you
in the
said.
first night. I want to say they played before us. We played before them the first time. So we ran to it was called the skating rink. So we ran to there and watched them. And we sat in the back, on, first row in the back. And I was just sitting there like, holy shit. I mean, where we were sitting was, a good distance from the stage. And it was just, it sounded incredible. And I
We
remember
all know
them.
Kling's experience. Obviously he did sound for
Deicide,
Venom Inc. and
Deicide.
Deicide and plays in Overkill now and played in
Yeah,
Venom Inc.
they just, some of the bands, you go with the sound guy and it is what it is. I mean, we had one of the nights was a mediocre sound. The second night was better because I think the first night we played, the guy's like, I really don't do metal. And I'm like, then what the fuck are you doing here? This whole cruise is
The guy
metal,
for the
bro.
cruise you're speaking of.
Yeah, the sound guy. He's like, yeah, I really don't do metal that much. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, this whole cruise is the 70,000 tons of metal, bro. They brought a sound guy that doesn't do metal. That didn't make any sense to me,
Yeah, it's
But the second night was
like
way
bringing a
better.
vegan to do barbecuing at be the main cook at a barbecue.
Exactly. So yeah, no, they were great, and they're a great band, and Taylor's great. So bunch of good, and they're good dudes. So that's the other side of the thing is you can have a great band, but if you're a dickhead, it kind of cancels you out a little bit. But those guys, obviously Terry's the most gentle giant. Don't piss him off though. I promise you.
He's got
The
that
guy,
tour coming up with Obituary too. They're doing what Cause of Death. It's
35
them and
years,
Nails and stuff. Yeah, it's
35 years of Cause of Death.
It makes you
35.
feel really old, doesn't it?
It
Because
sure does, because I bought it with the day it came out.
yeah,
So you sure the fuck does, man.
hell yeah, it does. I mean, yeah. So Inhuman Condition, anybody wants to go out to that, and eventually we'll probably get one of those guys on here. So what do we have? What else? Oh, and we also have Sulfur from from Finland, the black thrash metal band, um, coming on this week. So it'll be a next week episode. But they have a new record called Demon Steel on Osmos Productions. It's the band's 6th full length, follow up to the band's 2019 full length Iron Will Power. Killer band, man. I've always dug them. We actually played Burning Blood's Curse a few weeks ago on the show when we had Jerry from the Ratu channel on. So yeah, Ern will have Sulfur on. He also played with a Barathrum. So yeah, we'll be talking to him next week. And Ed, I have some releases and I only have a few shows. So I say we bang that out and get Rhevok on, and we'll come back after after he's on, and then we'll say goodbye to everybody like usual. Anybody, obviously, again, if you listen to our show, there's a whole back catalog. You can go back. You're going to hear interviews with Dawn of the Dead from Nunslaughter, King Fally from Deceased, Chris Reifert from Autopsy, Jeff Mantis from Venom, Snowy Shaw from King Diamond and Notre Dame, Dave Austin from Savage, and what else, Ed? We got we've had so many shows
Crowley.
now. Vincent Crowley. That's early shows too. Him and Pat from Hellwitch were some of the first 2 guests, I believe, on the show.
Yeah, man. Art the Clown, if you're into the horror.
David Howard Thornton. Yep. We've had Alan Howarth, if you're into the horror too. He's done all the Halloween themes back in the day, some Star Trek, and we had Jill Whitlow. She was in Weird Science and Porky's. And band-wise, we've had from Vietnam, we had Blood Serpent. I'm trying to pull these off the top of my head today.
Witch Trap,
yeah, from Columbia, which that's a great fucking band, man. It's crazy that we've done, we're on 84 tonight, and I'll be honest, man, like I didn't know how many episodes we were going to do. I was like, if we ever get to 100, it'll be like, there's no way. And then like now I'm like, oh, we're right around the corner from that. I actually am talking to another band about coming on too that I know they're going to come on. I just don't want to say it until, I don't want to jinx it because this can happen sometimes.
Yeah, we had that happen.
But we've had a shitload of shows. Anybody who you can go back and look at the back catalog. We've had the guys from More to Scold on. We had the guys from Morbid Sane on. Jerry from the Ratu channel, like we said. I mean, it goes, there's 80 something episodes and most of them are interviews. A lot of long form. Anybody who listens to our show knows how it goes. So, feel for Tony Dolan from Venom Inc. and Kyle Thomas from X-Hoarder, Trouble, and Floodgate. Like I said, I could just keep on going, but there's a bunch. You can always find that on there.
2-hour episode just talking about all the bands we've had on and the people.
Yeah, you can find a lot of that information over at the Instagram page where we usually update the most. We do the Facebook, but it's, Facebook sucks, and YouTube, we just put the
Everything's in
audio.
order on Spotify and
Yep,
YouTube and anywhere you get
Apple
podcast. I mean, it's
Podcasts
all
and
in they're
stuff.
all in order. So
Yeah. So you can always check all that stuff out. There's always a list. I'm always trying to read some of them. I need to come up with like some kind of bumper ad just to play it, but the show keeps on growing. So, but also we did get some deaths sent to us. We have someone on Instagram who, and obviously, yeah, Val Kilmer too, man. We saw this morning,
yeah,
passed
I
away,
saw that.
65. It's
That's Tombstone, man. We were talking about it before the show. Tombstone
played a great
is
Jim Morrison, even though a lot of the movie was bullshit. They say
yeah, well,
he did a great job
I
in
mean,
that.
Goose. I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna
you
say,
know,
yeah.
you got to look at it like his career. Later on, he got kind of fucked up. I don't remember what happened. He gained a bunch of weight.
Batman too, by the way.
Yeah, he was. He was Batman. But I mean, to me, like we were talking about all the catchphrases from Tombstone that, the Huckleberry, I'll be your Huckleberry, and just stuff like that, and how he took that role and everything he did, he kind of nailed it. You know what I mean? And he was a great actor. He really was one of the truly great actors. And
And 65, we know at this,
yeah,
that's not old, man. Throat cancer got him, but I mean, I think that's why they say he stepped out and stuff, and
he did because he wound up not being able to talk, to
yeah,
act. I mean, he lost his voice pretty much, and
easy.
that sucks, man. But
Yeah,
rest
so
in peace, Val Kilmer, man, because you were awesome.
yeah, Val Kilmer. And now I'm gonna go through some other people that were sent to me. Actually, Dirk Schroeder from Iron Angel passed away on March 28th, a vocalist from Germany. I remember their Hellish Crossfire, which was 80s, like maybe 85, 86. He passed away. Lucas Booker from Contrived, March 28th, a guitar vocalist from Pittsburgh. Um, Asher Lumpy, which is actually has a relation to our show because we had this band on Interceptor. Asher, nickname was Lumpy. DiBernardo, the drummer for Interceptor, 23 years old from South Carolina, passed away. He also played with Served by Dawn, 23, way too young. Um, Jeff Andrews from Flesh Spoil out of New York. He also played with Armor Column, Held Under, Ironweed, Hush, and The Final Sleep. He passed away at 51. And that's that's some of the musicians that have passed away this week that we had sent to us. Iron Angel, man, I need to go back. I haven't listened to that in a while. It's a killer band. So that now what I'll do now is I'm gonna and Ed, if you have any releases coming up, I do have a handful. I'm gonna bang through these really fast. So first I'll go through the shows. I only have 3 shows that I have uh, you know, for listed. And one of them is a future show that just got announced, so I will mention it and then we'll announce it again when it gets closer to it. But first, Saturday, April 5th at the Mutiny in Ocala, doors at 8, $5 show. Vacuous Depths, Killing Addiction, and Ramtha. And again, that's April 5th at the Mutiny in Ocala. Friday, April 25th, Vile Productions, Cardiac Arrest from Chicago, Extinguished from Pompano Beach, Grave Filth from Gainesville, Vacuous Depths from Tampa, Undercrypt from Deerfield Beach, Florida. That's going to be at the Brass Mug. Doors at $20. That show is, and that's April 25th. And another show I have, which I will mention because I still have to get announced, and like I said, it's kind of ahead a little bit, but it's a Saturday, June 14th. Vile Productions, Putrid Pile from Wisconsin, Mystery Meat from Texas, Antiseptic from Broward County, Florida, Los Reyes Bong Death from Miami, Law of Casualty from Tampa, and that's going to be at the Brass Mug. That's 1450 Skipper Road, Tampa, Florida. It's an exclusive Florida show, $20, all ages, doors at 7. And Ed, do you have any shows, or should I get to the releases?
Most of the shows passed. You
Yeah,
already
that's
went.
a lot of the shows
Ex
are
Order
past.
was last week.
Yeah,
All the big
it was a
shows.
busy 2 weeks, wasn't it? I mean, you had a
Yeah,
lot of stuff
man,
going
it
on.
was like between the Orpheum and the Brass Mug was popping the last 2 weeks for sure.
Yeah, so I noticed that too. Actually, that's why I was like, oh, I'll read the future ones that just got announced. I usually do that, but so I have some releases, and I'll bang through these, and then we can get to Rhevok. So let me see here. I'm gonna try to do them in somewhat order, but they'll never be in complete order. Rottenness out of Mexico, a brutal death metal band. They have an EP coming out called Fatal Cerebral Lesions. Independent release, formed in 1994, the band was 4 tracks, features members past and present of Formless Masters, Sacrificial Slaughter, Scattered Remains, Flesh Hoarder, and Horrific Visions. The band has put out 3 full lengths, 3 EPs. This will actually be their third. 2 demos, 2 splits, and 1 live album. That's Rottenness from Mexico, Grim Ripper, not Grim Reaper, but Grim Ripper from Australia, death thrash metal band, title Into the River of Oblivion, label Grindhead Records out of Australia, formed in 2022, put out a self-titled 5-song EP in 2023. Into the River of Oblivion has 7 tracks, and that comes out April 4th. That Rottenness, but from Mexico, is at April 2nd. I don't know if I said that or not, but Imperishable from Sweden, death metal band Swallowing the World, label Hammerheart Records out of the Netherlands, formed in 2021, put out the first EP titled Death Spawn in 2021. Swallowing the Sun is the follow-up to the band's 2023 full-length Come Sweet Death. Features members past and present of Vampire, Inverted Cross, Exterminate, Dominion, and Dr. Living Dead, and that's actually out April 11th. And like I said, I would go out of date with the dates a little bit out of order. But Pighead out of Germany, a brutal death metal band. Relapse into Absurdity EP, Rising Nemesis Records out of Germany. 6 tracks, basically like 9 minutes of material. Formed in 2007, put out a 3-song demo in 2007 and 2009, and the band's first full-length, Cadaver Desecrator, came out in 2010. They put out 3 full lengths in total. This will be Pighead's first EP, April 4th. That comes out. Rotten Moon out of Finland. It's like a raw black metal band, 1-man band. The Wasteland Polarity on Gems label out of Iowa. This is Rotten Moon's second full length and the follow-up to the 2021 No Dawn in This World of Eternal Eclipses record. The band is again a 1-man band. Heinous Soul is the guy's name. Handles all the instruments. Also played in Circle of Arbaros, Mental Terror, Void of Autumn, and Absolute Key. Wasteland Polarity is 8 tracks and is out April 4th. Bloody Run out of Pennsylvania, thrash grind band. War Violence on Gems label, again out of Iowa. That's right. Bloody Run formed in 2022, put out 3 demos in 23, a full-length titled Decapitate the Tyrant in 2024. 3-piece members past and present of Leprosy, Scare Tape, Corpse God, and Shrouded in Neglect. That comes out April 8th, and I do have a few more still. Grave Circles out of Ukraine, black metal band. World Within the World is the name of the record. Label Schotten Cult Productions out of Germany, formed in 2016. They put out 2 EPs. This will be Grave Circle's second full length. They put out Tome 1 in 2019. April 2nd is the release date for that. Funeral Dancer out of Long Island, New York. Kind of I guess they call it a black and roll band. EP titled Fiends of the Outer Wave, label Dark Empire Records out of Ohio, formed in 2019, put a demo out in 2019, 20 and 21, and an EP titled Nightmare in 2023. Features members past and present of Locus Mortis, False Gods, Enemy of the State, and Surgical Strike. Fiends of the Outer Wave comes out on April 4th. Venomous Invocation out of Knoxville, Tennessee, death black metal band. The title of the EP is The Infernal Prophecy. It's an independent release. Band formed in 2023, put out a demo in 2024, and Infernal Prophecy has 5 tracks. That comes out April 4th, and 1 more. Final Dose out of the UK, black metal punk band. Title is Under the Eternal Shadow, label Wolves of Hades out of the Netherlands. Formed in 2019, follow-up to the band's 2023 album, Void Inside. Under the Eternal Shadow comes out April 11th. And again, thanks to anybody who sends us their releases and the list of releases. We appreciate it. Ed, what do you have over there? Anything for releases before we get to Rhevok?
I just have 2. A band that I don't know if you ever got into them, man. I did a little bit. They were cool. Definitely have to really be into them, but Under Oath.
Never. I can't even tell you. I know who they are. Definitely know who they are. When I was working for those magazines,
they had, like I said, they're kind of one of those bands that you have to really like be in the mood for, but they're killer. You know what I mean? But you have to be kind of like Gwar. Gwar is one of those killer bands, but if you're not in the mood for it, it's like, it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's like, but yeah, they have a new one called The Place after this one. And Arch Enemy came out with a new record called Blood Dynasty. And I got to say, You know, Angela Glasgow, the singer that they had before, was killer. But, you know, Alyssa, I see her live and people are like, she can't sing like that. And I'm like, brother, go watch a live video. She can. I mean, she's killing it. She seems a little, you know, high on herself
I don't know if
sometimes.
I don't know if I haven't heard them also in years, man. I remember Angela, obviously, but man, it's been a while. Yeah,
Yeah, well, she found, you know, obviously, I forget the band Alyssa sang for before, but she's the one that brought her in, and she fit like obviously like a glove, and it's just she comes out with those outfits to accentuate who she is, which good for her. But I just know a couple people who've talked to her, and I think for a while she was dating Doyle too, um, if I remember correctly. I saw her and Doyle were kind of a thing. I don't know if they still are, but she's killer. And I heard a couple songs this morning at the gym while I was working out, and I was like, oh, fucking arch enemy. But I mean, it's Mike, it's the Amat brothers. You know what I mean? I mean, if you like what you heard on Carcass, you know what I mean? You're gonna get that same killer guitar stuff. And of course, why am I'm drawing a blank on his name? The bass player. He played with King Diamond.
Shirley.
Sure, yeah, Shirley. That's it. Yep.
Yeah,
So I mean, they got
Merciful Fate. Yeah, that's
and
right.
of course they had Loomis for a while, but Loomis is gone. So I'm not sure who's playing guitar now. I think I remember they mentioned it. I just can't remember, but I know Jeff Loomis because he went back with Van Williams to redo the Nevermore, and I'm not
All
sure
right.
how I truly feel about that. You know, I'm a very big Warrell Dane fan. I was a Sanctuary fan. I love Nevermore. They were one of my favorite bands, just because they got me out of some dark times in the early 2000s. Actually, before I met my, like diabolic days. So like I was in a weird place, and that dude could write some songs, and it really. But yeah, so I saw that they found a new singer and bass player because they didn't bring Jim Shepard back from Nevermore
I
and
saw that too.
Sanctuary.
Yeah,
So I'm anxious to see how that works. You know, like it was kind of like when Fear Factory got the new guy, and he actually sounds like Burton better than Burton. I hate to say it, but Burton just lost his. I mean, he's been doing this for how many years? When you do this forever, it can take a toll on your voice. I mean, we were talking about it with the '80s bands. Some guys can still crush, like Firehouse, and what was the other one we were talking about?
then you get Dawkins, right? Who
And
is
Dawkins
total,
or
yeah,
Vince
total
Neil
opposite.
or Steve Piercy, who again, Rat was huge. I loved Rat, but when I see him now and it's a shadow, it's almost like a joke. I just yeah, it kind of takes away the fun of it. You know what I mean? I can't support it. Like I can't, if I heard Rat was coming and Steve Piercy was singing, I wouldn't go. You know what I mean? Just like if Motley Crue was playing and somebody, unless we got free tickets from, they were playing Ruth Eckerd Hall. That's the only way I would go. You know what I mean? Because I'm not paying to go see Vince Neil. 1, 2, 3, fish over your head. I could do that. I don't even know all the words, and I could sing them better than that dude. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. It just sucks when people lose it like that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean,
Yeah. Well, and you talked about what the outfit, the accentuating outfit. So we have a guy coming up next who's following the same rhythm as this. We got
sucks
Rhevok
that we
coming
don't do
on.
video because I
Yeah,
think
this
they
would be
would get
one that would be kind of, or we had Count Gordeval when he had the full Dracula
a
outfit
full
on.
Dracula would
That's
have been
which
awesome
I'll be
too.
seeing Count Gordeval, which we'll talk about on a future episode. He'll be coming down to Lithuania. Me and the wife are taking him out to show him around a little bit. So just heard from him yesterday. But yeah, so we're gonna get we
Why don't we
opened
do
up the
this,
show.
brother? Why don't we get Rhevok ready to get on the show and give us a fucking show?
There you go, man. That's what we're gonna do. We actually opened up the show with "My Hatred Burns" from the new record, the 2024 record from Mordant Rhed, and now we're gonna play "Hatred of Humanity" from the "Hatred of Humanity" EP that came out in 2023, or the demo. Then we're gonna have Rhevok on here from Mordant Rhed, and yeah, man, let's get it going. So here we're gonna play "Hatred of Humanity." We'll be back on the Tampa Morgue with Rhevok after this song.
You want to get some shit on me? I hope your fucking ass all over this place. You're not going to come in my house and act like a I don't give a fuck with your house. I want to get up and go home. That's all I want to do. So shut the fuck up.
And that was Mordant Rhed with Hatred of Humanity from the 2023 EP. And we are joined with Rhevok. How you doing, dude?
What's up, man? I'm just glad to be here. Glad to be alive.
Glad to have you here too, man. I was telling you before the show that I started watching you. I don't know, maybe I'm late to the show, like probably about 6 months ago. Started seeing, some of the other stuff you had done. I think you were doing some collabs. Actually, Vincent Crowley might have been the first time I had seen you on one of his videos. We had Vincent on when we first started the show, and I'd watched you on there a few times, man. And dude, like I was telling you before you came on, I find your channel, I guess refreshing would be the word. That's what's funny enough. So I guess let's start with the name, right? It's a combo of Scanners and Dragon Slayer from '81.
Hey, good attention to detail. Yeah, the stage name Rhevok Vermithrax. And I've had a couple people message me, hey, is that reference to Dragon Slayer and Scanners? Like, yes, it is. Both movies came out in 1981, and that was a pivotal year for me. Just understanding what the hell was going on and It's those two movies still hold up really well to me. And also, that was a year that discovered all this cool shit. And my dad was let me listen to fucking Alice Cooper and Black Sabbath and all this crap. And then my life went to hell from there.
Yeah, so, we're gonna kinda go through your life a little bit, but we are gonna leave out a few we're gonna keep the mystery there a little bit, but, man, I know you're a former military guy too, correct?
Yep. Marine Corps.
Oh, nice. Nice, and, like I said, you don't have to answer what you don't want, but, married, kids, or none of it?
Man, I got like 15 hookers, man.
There you go. So yeah, there's that answer right there. So yeah, let's start out from the beginning. Like I said, we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff tonight. Your YouTube channel. We're gonna talk about your band. We actually, like I said, we played a couple tracks already before you came on. So you're born in '74, originally from Texas.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. And
I don't know.
how would you
I'm
explain your upbringing, man? Because I know, like, I've read some stuff about you. I've read some interviews you've done and everything. That time period, you're kind of on the same period as me and Ed. I'm 76, you're 74, but we kind of probably grew up on the same, like, Battlestar Galactica, Flash Gordon,
yes.
Star Wars and shit.
Yes.
So what was your thing when you were little, man?
Going back, I liked, Universal Monsters and Godzilla and all that shit, which I still love today. Talking about like cartoons and shit. The first cartoon that really got me like, yeah, this is the real shit was fucking Thundar the Barbarian.
Oh
I
yeah.
watched that, and then that's a more serious tone cartoon compared to the other bullshit back then. And then it just, I don't know, I just started eating it up, liking the more darker stuff. And also, Watership Down, those fucking
Wow.
rabbits chewing each other up. I was a little kid. I saw that. I was kind of like scared, but also liked it at the same time, man. So then after that, just and also talking about my upbringing, my parents weren't so much of telling me you can't watch this and shit. Like fucking 1980, they took me to the theater. And we saw Cheech and Chong's next movie in the theater, and I know my ass should not have been seeing that shit. And I saw Scarface. I went to see the Warriors 1979 at the drive-in. Conan the Barbarian. Uh,
And you saw Exorcist in '81, right? Which is you had you pretty young, man. That's like 5 years old.
yeah, well, Exorcist. That's you know what's fucked up about that? I was watching it with my parents, and I remember at the end when he gets exorcised in the apartment, they show the statue of Pazuzu. I closed my eyes. My mom was like, look, it's the devil. Like, fuck, no, I don't want to see that shit. And, also, that whole satanic 70s shit also got me, man. Like the car with James Brolin, that satanic car. Then The Devil's Reign with Tom Skerritt and Ernest Borgnine. Those movies were so influential. Also, The Manitou, Tony Curtis. I look at that
Oh
movie now,
yeah.
it looks fucking hilarious. Little sawed off Indian midget demon. But at the time, that I was scared as fuck of that movie.
What was the saying for that movie? Evil does not die, it just waits to be reborn or something like that, right? That was like the catch line
Something
for that. The
I should
Manitou,
use that as a
God.
soundbite for a movie for a song.
I know, right, man? Well, you mentioned Hammer films, and I was a big Hammer film guy, and I was
Mm,
a big I actually have boxes of the old monster magazines, the famous monsters and stuff.
yes, me
Um,
too.
I mean, the horror of Dracula, right? I don't know what
Yeah.
you were The Curse of Frankenstein. What were some of the Hammer films you were getting into?
I liked all the classics, and one of the Frankenstein horror ones or the Frankenstein Hammer ones that is not talked about. Everybody talks about the Christopher Lee one, Curse of Frankenstein, but I always like Frankenstein meets the Monster from Hell, where they're in that asylum, and that
Oh, yeah.
fucking big hairy looking ape looking man is in there, and I don't know. There's something that I've always liked that one. I don't want to say it's better than the other ones, but that's my go-to movie for that, man. The Frankenstein meets the Monster from Hell.
Yeah, and you also have some other, movies that you're into that we all grew up on. Like I said, we're about the same age, all of us three. I know Return to the Living Dead is one of your favorites from '85, and I mean that is to this day, I could watch that a couple times a year, and it's always awesome, man.
Yeah,
Plus
that,
the
that movie
soundtrack,
there.
45
Yeah,
Graves.
that's very very pivotal. Saw that in August of '85 at the theater. I can't remember how old I was, but I remember going there and my parents and my mom kept telling me, "Close your eyes during the nudity," and I just put my hand over my eyes, but I can just still
Quigley.
see through it. Yes, Linnea Quigley. But man, '85. That's when I was aware of underground music. But I mean, I wasn't like knew I didn't know what Venom was or nothing back then, but through my dad, he would listen to shit just like Alice Cooper and uh, fuck, he's the one. He was one that bought Shout at the Devil back then when it came out. Brought it home. My fucking mom was pissed, and my first 45 I got was Quiet Riot, Mental Health. But
Yeah,
actually, I'm jumping around, man. I'm all fucking wired up, motherfucker.
oh, it's cool,
But
man. I know, and
but
actually,
yeah,
we'll go to that because your dad was a guitar player, right?
man, goddamn, you work for the FBI.
That's what we do around here, man. That's what we do.
But yeah, he did. He played guitar, and he was in. I mean, he was in the army during Vietnam, and he listened to all that shit back then. But what was cool is when I was a kid, he was still buying shit that was modern. He bought Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Appetite for Destruction. He bought Cinderella. He fuck. I learned about social distortion through him. It's just fucking weird how and how I started first getting into Clash or the punk rock was the Clash. He bought Combat Rock when that came out, and I remember the cover. It was just like caught my attention, and I just wanted to know more about it. Um, I'm jumping all around, but I want to go
Oh,
back.
nice.
What you were talking about, Return of the Living Dead. I know I've mentioned this over and over, but that movie was so influential to me. Just you know, and for me, I don't know, maybe that's just Hollywood punk rock, but that fucking nihilism, like the character
Yeah.
suicide, to me, that's what punk rock is. Fuck you, fuck this. Think this is a fucking costume, it's the way of fucking life. I mean, that's what I look at punk as nihilism, not this bullshit of trying to make the world better. The world is not going to get better. Everybody is fucking assholes. Everybody's egotistical. So that's why I don't get into that whole thing about trying to make the world better because it's not going to change.
Oh, you're right, man. And Return of the Living Dead. I mean, we're talking the soundtrack to that, right? Yeah, the Cramps, the Damned, TSOL. I mean,
Yes.
it's still a great soundtrack. There was the Funhouse '81, another great film.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Toby Hooper.
Yeah,
Fuck
Toby
yeah.
Hooper. 81. I mean, how many years ago? That freaked me out, especially with the Madams Xena, I think it was, with the who was actually played by Sylvia Miles, who was on the Midnight Cowboy and shit like that. Those old movies.
Wow,
Um,
I did not put that together. Interesting.
yeah, yeah, Midnight Cowboy. She was a couple other things too, but that movie, I don't know. That it had a dark. It was like kind of disturbing, back then
Yeah.
when you're a kid, But there was a couple, those movies, Trick or Treat, stuff like that. Were you into comics and
Yes.
stuff also?
Comics, yes. Actually, real quick though, Trick or Treat, Sammy Kerr. My
Yeah.
fucking dad, we saw that because he wanted to see it. And fucking
Yeah.
that so that's another thing. Trick or Treat, fucking Sammy Kerr and Fastway soundtrack. A lot of people talk. I've heard people talk shit, because they said they should have had, more heavy music on there and somebody different. But the way I look at it, with that guy Tony Fields that played Sammy Kerr and then the Fastway soundtrack, I cannot imagine it being any other way than that.
Yeah. You had what's his name in that movie too, Mark Price. So you guys right remember he
Yeah,
was Skippy on
yes, Skippy,
Skippy on was
Skippy,
it
yeah.
Family Ties,
And they
that
had
was
the
that
fucking I forget the fucking blonde headed jock creep that it was on there, and he played that part numerous times in other movies. I can't remember what else. I
Oh,
forget his
yes.
name, but the perfect fucking blonde jock creep from all the '80s movies. They always had to have one of those.
Yeah, I mean, those that's the thing is you might agree with this too, is like now I don't watch the remakes when they remake all these movies,
Fuck
I just
no,
can't do
man.
it. I mean, I think the only remake I remember watching that was like even Ed, we'll talk about movies. He's like, "Did you see this?" I'm like, I kind of have it in my head not to watch the remakes. I did watch that
Yeah,
Evil Dead remake in 2013, but still,
yeah,
I'll go to the original every time, man. All,
yeah. That
um,
Evil Dead remake, I saw it at the theater when it came out, and I literally just watched it and didn't remember nothing about it. It was just so unmemorable. But then I rewatched it not too long ago. It's okay. I mean, it's not. I
major
mean,
CGI though, right? If I remember correctly.
yeah, it's just I'd probably never need to see it again. But it
Yeah.
was okay. It was a little better than I remember, but still, I don't ever need to see that shit ever again.
You mentioned the Manitou, how like now you look at it and it's kind of there was a movie you might remember Something Wicked This Way Comes from Ray
Yes,
Bradbury with
yes, I
Jonathan
do.
Pryce. When I was a kid,
Yes,
man, that movie to me was like, was I wouldn't I guess you would say it kind of freaked me out as a little kid with the spiders in the room and shit. Now
uh,
when I go back and watch it, it's very tame, but I mean, Jonathan Pryce played a good devil in that movie though, because he was like the carnival leader.
he did. And a lot of times those kind of movies, even the music kind of made you kind of scared. Just and it wasn't even like, um, God damn, what the fuck is I was just watched the motherfucker the other day. The late '70s or early Shockwaves, the
Oh yeah,
Nazi zombie movie with Peter Cushing.
yeah.
When I saw that back then, I was scared of that movie. And in reality, it was mainly just the music that made me scared, you know. But because I remember as a kid, I saw, oh, John Carradine and Peter Cushing in the same movie. I got to watch this. And the music was dark and synth based, and it scared me. Now you watch that shit, it's definitely not scary.
You were also into the '68 Space Odyssey, right? With
Hmm.
Kubrick. 2001
Yes.
Space Odyssey, I should say, but mainly
Yeah,
'68.
that's actually one of my all-time favorite movies. Like as far as major motion pictures, that movie, when I first saw it as a kid, I remember another one. My dad was one to watch it. You know, I wasn't alive in '68, but we saw it after the fact, and it started off with an Age of Man, Dawn of Man, the Cro-Mags and cavemen. I said, "Oh, this looks cool. This is kind of like Quest for Fire. Yeah, I want to watch this." And then it goes into space, and I was like, "Man, it lost me. I got bored." But then as I got older, I understand it's a more of an intellectual movie. Not that I'm really an intellectual person, but there's a deeper meaning to it. It's also ambiguous as far as the meaning. So I really fucking love that shit. And Stanley Kubrick, as far as major directors, that's probably my favorite director. A lot of his movies I really like.
Yeah, you're a Clockwork fan, of course, right? I'm sure.
Yes, Clockwork, and I even like Eyes Wide Shut. His last movie, I thought
Yeah.
it was pretty good.
I think the great thing about him was he never made the same movie twice. Like if you look at all his
Yes.
films, they were just different. Like it was never the same thing, you know. And you mentioned you're obviously going back to your dad. So it all started out with pretty much Black Sabbath too, and an 8-track that your dad owned. Was it the Paranoid one?
Yes, and I still have it sitting on the shelf over there, that original 8 track, because it just that pretty much was the antithesis that created all this shit. Because he had that, and then also on top of that, he had that 8 track would play it, and then in the early '80s, I started watching wrestling, and then the Road Warriors would come to the ring with the song Iron Man, and I mean,
Hawk and
every time I hear
Animal.
dun dun dun, and imagine Road Warriors fucking beating people's ass in the ring. So it kind of went, wrestling and heavy metal went hand in hand for me, man, and just kept going from there.
No, not jumping ahead, but does wrestling play a little part in which I'll mention when we start talking about your band and stuff. But when you guys first you guys theatrical was something that was in your mind right away, right? When you're doing Mordant Rhed. So how does wrestling have some kind of influence from the '80s? Because I kind of see it in the band photos and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it most definitely is. It's I mean, it's a fucking show. When I see a band, like if I pick up an album and see some fucked up shit with guys with masks or baseball bats or just some absurd shit, I'm gonna give it a second look versus just some guy in t-shirts standing there. So when we started this band started in 2017, and we already knew, like, all right, this needs to have a look, because we've had other bands in the past and it didn't have anything like that. So this needs to have something different, especially in this day and age, because there's so many underground bands and a lot of good ones too, but it's just hard to stand out. Now, with the music we've recorded at this point, I think it's good. I like it. Is it the greatest of all time? No, but I think it's pretty good. And if we just did that alone, I don't, nobody would even give a shit, honestly, because there's 500 other bands that are just as good as well. It's a matter of doing something to stand out. And how this YouTube channel started, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but the YouTube channel started is literally we were doing this band, and I was thinking, man, you know what? I ought to just do a YouTube channel just talking shit and put, wear the stage banner on the video, and it just kind of just took off and made a lot of cool contacts, met a lot of really good people, and it's been a fun little. I'm not allowed to in black metal. You can't say the word fun, but it's been a fun little run.
And I will say the mask does. There's no way to when you first see it, man. You got to check it out. It's kind of like I said, we'll talk about your new record that's out now too, which the title of that kind of plays into this also of having to check it out when you see the title. But when you see the mask, you don't flip over to the next channel right away because there is a lot of, as we know, there's a lot of channels now. There's a lot of different
Right,
shit going on. So yeah, so we'll get to all that. But so the first record you actually purchased, is it the Peter Criss '78?
man, you definitely did your research. Yes, that is correct. the Peter
Out of all
Chris
the
solo.
ones, man, the Peter Chris one.
I know. You know, I look because I remember. I still clearly remember we were at a store and they had a whole big setup because this is when they first came out, and it had the whole Kiss set up. They had all the solo albums. That was my grandparents, and my grandmother said you can get one if you want. So I'm looking, and I was so close to getting Ace Frehley, which that's what I should have got. But I thought, you know what? Actually, I'm going to get the Catman. And we got back to my grandparents' house. I was playing it. I was like, man, this is shitty. And I got the worst one. And Ace Frehley's is the best one. That's the one that I wish that I had gotten. But hey, you know what?
Shit
I
happens.
fucked up the first time, but it was all right.
Yeah, and you know, and so when you back in the '80s, you would you got your dad would like. So I don't know if I don't know where I read this from, but your dad would listen to the records, punch holes in the walls and shit like that.
Yeah, there. I've been. I, I don't know. I feel like I've been like a fucking magnet of fucking psychos because even to this day, all the people I hang around with are a bunch of fucking idiots doing shit like that. But yeah, I can still remember my dad. Every time he'd get drunk, he'd start putting on the records and turning that shit up. My mom would be pissed off, and he'd just keep turning it up and just drinking, tearing the shit up. Sometimes he'd get drunk, put on the boxing gloves, and we'd start fighting in the living room. You know, I was 8 or 9. I mean, he wasn't abusing us, not busting us up, but just fucking playing around and shit. It was I don't know, it was a fun childhood, you know. And we watch whatever the fuck we want, and for better or worse, I don't know. Maybe it fucked me up where I had a warped sense of humor, but you know, there was really no gauge of controlling. I mean, we weren't watching pornos and shit, but we would watch whatever the fuck we wanted to. That's for sure.
What you guys? He's listening to like the Crew. Obviously, we were talking before the show, like Too Fast for Love and Shout Out the Devil. I don't care what anybody says. You know, we had Dawn of the Dead from Nunslaughter on here. We were talking about those records. They're great records when you're a kid, man. Back then, when you hear those, I think Theater of Pain has started completely going downhill.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I still Shout Out the Devil. I still think is a great record, and I still love Too Fast also.
Yeah, both of those are heavy. I mean, you even like Shout at the Devil, the production, it's heavy. It's fucking heavy rock and roll metal. You know, it's got that dark satanic over. Even though most of the lyrics are not satanic or nothing, but still, it has that feeling to it. And I still can listen to that album anytime, anytime.
They had that beginning too, you know, in the which was in the beginning, you know,
Yes.
which was Jeff Workman. Actually, at first I always thought that was Nikki Sixx doing that, but it was actually Jeff Workman, the engineer, who actually reads that on the thing, which he passed away years ago. But you know, I remember when I heard that when I was probably like, I don't know, I want to say like 13 or some ridiculous age, but I just remember it had an impact on me. I was like, I thought that was obviously as we talked about when you get older, you start learning about more bands and I start learning. I remember it's a big Alice Cooper guy. Then you hear Ozzy, you know, you start like, you know, it's funny because I remember when I first saw, I don't know if it was which Ozzy it was. I would start seeing the covers and I would get a little freaked out, man, when I was younger because I didn't understand them. And I had heard, so there's another one for you. Neil Diamond. Okay. Taproot manuscript that fucking freaked you out as a kid? The cover? Is
Yeah.
this the
Actually,
is this fact?
yes, I have that fucking record because I wanted to get it just because you know the music didn't freak me out, but the cover, you know, it's got that dark background where he's behind the bars, and for whatever reason, that fucking cover scared the shit out of me. My dad used to laugh and say, "Hey, does this scare you?" I mean, this was probably being 4, 5, 6, and then after that, I saw Alice Cooper, like the Killers album. If you have it has a gatefold, and there's a calendar in there with a picture of Alice Cooper, like he's been
Yeah,
like he
I'm a
hung
huge Cooper
himself,
guy.
and that fucking kind of made me sick as a kid. I was scared, but I also liked it in the same sense. So just seeing all that shit just kind of desensitized me to that kind of crap, and I just kept progressing to more and more extreme shit,
You were also
horror,
into
and
punk too, right? You were also into
oh,
like
absolutely,
what, Poison
yeah,
Idea, obviously. I see that. Yeah, I know. Well, I
yes,
love Poison
yeah,
Idea. How about the Dwarves,
yes, absolutely.
Mentors, Black Flag, and Gigi Allen? You actually saw Gigi Allen.
Yep, I did. I fucking punched him in the face too. I mean, of course, it was a big mob of people fighting, but I did see him one time, and he kept running. Luckily, that Gigi Allen show was not a fecal show. It was more of a violence show. He would kept running in the crowd and knocking the shit out of people, and then he ran in and attacked, and a bunch of people jumped in. Everybody started hitting him, and he's laying on the stage with his feet kicking, and it was a good show. And it's one of those shows that I almost missed because I knew it was coming up, and I happened to go to the record store the day before, and the show was supposed to be the next day, but they had a big poster. Holy fuck, Gigi Allen is tonight. It was just a handwritten flyer. I was like, oh, it's tonight? I wouldn't even have known. So luckily I went to the store and saw it, so I went and got to see him on that day, and it was I fucking love Gigi Allen. Everything from the jabbers to the later sloppy shit. It's all good.
Yeah, it acts people who don't, if you go back to the jabbers and stuff, it was different at one point. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously he progressed through the years. I used to book shows at a club in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I booked the Murder Junkies. This was after Gigi, though. This was Jeff Clayton was singing for him from Anti.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And man, we had there's actually video on YouTube of the brawls. It's Club Venom was the name, and we had I forget it was like 8 people stabbed. There was so many people arrested. So so Merle gets a hold of me, and I booked the Murder Junkies through another guy. And at this time period, I'll say it was $500 to have the Murder Junkies play. You had to put them up at a strip bar all day, which was like down. My buddy used to have this place called Showgirls he used to run in St. Pete. So we did this. But he says to us, he's like, hey, I want you to book this band, Merle says, called the Dead Whores. So I book them. Now this is back before all the internet crazy shit where you could look up everything. There was internet, but you couldn't look up, you just didn't think about all this stuff. So the band happened to be one of these, I guess you would say a racist band. So all of a sudden, all these gangs start showing up. Different, you could tell too, like the people that are showing up are like in squads, fucking brawl, dude. It was insane. Ed, you remember that, right?
Yep. That's what put Venom on the map.
Yeah, that's what put that at the club. We had police come. I mean, it was insane, man. There was blood everywhere. The crazy part was the cops are arresting people on the stage because we had 2 stages in the venue. And while they're arresting people, Dino is doing a fucking drum solo, and the cops are yelling at him to stop playing. It was insane, man. It was just an insane show. But yeah, so Gigi Allen obviously definitely has. Who was
the band that
the Dead
played with him?
Whores. The Dead
Whores.
Yeah, that and another band called the Scurvy, which we knew those guys because actually Brandon, who I don't know if you've seen the Murder Junkies in the last few years, but Brandon is the guy with the mohawk who drives them, and I believe he's singing for them now on this next tour. But he's been with them since that show. Actually, that's how it all started with him. But he was in a band called the Scurvy, who were not but the band that caused all the craziness was a band called the Dead Whores. Yeah, it was
interesting. Yeah, I never heard of that shit.
Yeah, it was a crazy night, but so yeah, no, this time, obviously, like we said, we start getting into heavier shit, but are you watching like Headbangers Ball? Because I know they had like Friday night videos back then. Where you're at, it's like what, 101 Rock Place or something like that. Like, what are you watching?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I would watch Friday night videos and 101 Rock Place. And yeah, I mean, and also, again, this was my dad. He would get the VCR, the old VCRs with the top pops open, recording videos, and that's where I first saw Grim Reaper. Saw a Grim Reaper video. I saw a guy with a big wolf mask. It's all post-apocalyptic. I was like, man, this is fucking great shit. And even back then, the Scorpions rock you like a hurricane. I thought that video was so cool. They're in that cage. What the hell was that other show? Not Friday Night Videos, but there was another one. It was on a cable channel. I can't remember. It was a national one, not just local, but I can't remember what the fuck it was called. But yeah, we watched all that crap, and always the more edgy looking shit looked cool to me. Like even the Metal Health Quiet Riot video, the fucking Iron Mask. I mean, that immediately caught my attention. I was like, man, this is fucking great. Ozzy Osbourne, Bark at the Moon, the werewolf on the video.
To this day, that's still a great look. I mean, obviously it's dated a little bit, but it's still a cool looking video.
Yeah. Just those cool practical effects on there, man. Yeah. It's funny how all this worked with me. It was like hand in hand. I was getting into punk and also new wave back then and metal and hard rock, and it kind of just all kept coming together.
You're pretty diverse too, right? Because you were into like back then, what Duran and Men at Work, because I still think Men at Work that was one of Business as Usual, which I think was 81, and then Cargo 83. But I remember like that was one of my first tapes. Your family hands you down these tapes, and I still think Men at Work is. I think Colin is killer.
Oh yeah, I still like Men at Work. I even like the what the hell? The third album that flopped. I even like some of that album is kind of crappy, but the very first song on the record is called Two Hearts, I think.
I think
It
so.
was
Yeah,
after Cargo, and that's when they kind of it was a commercial failure. And that even that album's pretty good. Not as good as the first two, but it's I still like that shit. Duran Duran, Spandau Ballet, Joe Jackson. I mean, people are probably thinking this guy listened to this fucking pussy shit.
we
You
all
know,
started out somewhere, man. No, like we said,
I still
when
like it. You know what? If somebody doesn't like it, they can go fuck themselves because I like Duran Duran.
In excess.
Yes, yes, I
what was
like
the first show
NXS.
you ever attended?
Oh fuck. I cannot remember. Damn, I don't know. I mean, it's I think as far as extreme, like real, like a class, I think I saw Immolation was one of the first shows I saw. I don't know, man. All that shit kind of blends together. I can't really remember exactly, but I do have a funny story. This is childhood shit. Maybe this is help. I got two stories about concerts. Then it's nothing heavy, but this may be one of the reasons that fucking warped me as a kid. For one, we went to a show and there was a band playing. I don't remember who it was, and I had to have been like 6 years old or whatever. And there was a bunch of people sitting down, and I wasn't paying attention, but I stood in front of a bunch of people, and I didn't realize that some fucking asshole just goes like this and pushes me out of the way, a grown man, and I was scared. And then my mom grabs me. She said, "Just stay right here. Don't go over there." And I was like, "What's going on?" And my dad purposely walked in front of the people and shot the finger at them in their face, and turned around and stood right in front of them with his arms crossed. And my mom was holding me there, thinking there was about to be a fight, and those people didn't do shit. And that kind of set a precedent. I was like, "Yeah, you know what? That's fuck these motherfuckers. Don't let people get away with doing shit like that to you, man." And then another story, which this is more just morbid than anything. We were leaving. It was I don't remember what the fuck it was. It was at a big arena, but everybody's walking out, and this one little kid in front of me was walking. He has his hand on the wall, just walking by the wall, touching everything. And I remember his dad, I grabbed him and said, "Don't touch that. People with AIDS have been touching that." I was like, "What the fuck?" And I was laughing so hard, and I don't even know why that was even. I still think it's funny, but most people would not think that's funny.
What was your that time period? We all had the local record stores. What did you guys have? You had like tracks and stuff like that in your area. What are some of the the stores you were hitting?
Yeah, tracks for sure. We had tracks in the mall. Actually, that's the typical shit, Sam Goody, but tracks is the one where I first started getting the good shit. Like that's where I first bought Eating Back to Life, and it was I bought that Cannibal Corpse. It was right before Butchered at Birth came out, so Eating Back to Life was the only thing they had, and I saw that cover. And what's funny, I thought it looked kind of fucking goofy. Look, I was like, man, this probably sucks, man. And then, but then I listened to it, I was like, oh no, this is good shit. But back to your question, yeah, tracks. Around here, we had a place called Sound Plus where some old ass man and his wife ran the place. I say old ass, he was probably younger than I am now. He
How it
was
goes?
running
Yeah,
it.
like 40 or something.
Yeah, I know. But that's where I got all the fucking pungent stench shit from there. And there was another place. What the fuck was it called? There's some of them that are closed. That Sound Plus is closed, but there's a place called Sound Exchange that is still open to this day. I went there as a kid, and they've moved locations a couple of times, but they're still open, and I still go there to this day. And they have all the. I A lot of times when I buy metal, I like to go there because I know you can go online and buy whatever you want, but I kind of still like the surprise of going in there and looking through the records and oh shit, and finding something to get surprised, versus just okay, I want this, press a button and it's at my house. It's just not the same excitement.
Yeah, looking at the covers and stuff, we always
Yeah.
say that was like, how it was back then. You'd go to pick out a CD for the cover. I always talk about Bad Out of Hell from Meatloaf, how disappointed I was when I
Oh
got
no.
home. And nothing against Meatloaf, but I remember like seeing that cover and being like, oh man, this is gonna be, and then you put it on and it's not what you expect. You know.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of Dio cover or something, and then it. pretty much I'm not into Meatloaf, but actually Dio, that's another another band that my dad was into. I remember he had recorded a Dio concert that was on one of those shows, and we used to listen to that shit all the time. And all I remember is just a rainbow in the dark. That's like the first Dio song I clearly remember, and yeah, good fucking times, man.
And are you like, so back then, are you getting high and stuff like that and all that kind of stuff,
No,
listening to music? Are you total,
no,
now, is that not part of your, when you were a kid, you never got into that shit?
no. Everybody else I knew, people were fucking like seventh grade doing cocaine and shit, and I don't know.
Damn.
I think the reason why is my mom scared the shit out of me. We watched Scarface and they're all doing coke, and my mom said, "Yeah, that's what mean people do," you know. And I was kind of, I don't know if I want to get into that shit. But then I've done other shit later on in life and fucked myself up. So I've got a whole lifetime of stuff that I did, stuff to screw myself up. So
When do you
I
start?
guess
What's your first instrument, man? Because I know you play drums. Also, I mean, what is your first thing you pick up? Because with your dad being a guitar player, is he like showing you how to play? You jamming on his guitar at all, or
no. You know what? That I remember as a kid, they would my mom would say, "Why don't you get an acoustic and let him show you some stuff?" And for whatever reason, I just never did it. I wish that I did it. And then over the years, I started trying to pick up the guitar, but I just always gravitated to drums more. And it's really weird how with the drums, I bought a piece of shit kit. I don't know, 30 years ago or something, and was playing drums back then, and then kind of just stopped playing it. I mean, literally for years, I just didn't play drums, and then we started this band up, and we would always have issues, and even other bands have had always been issues with drummers all the time. Nobody else, just the drummer. So I said, you know what? I need to learn how to play drums just so we can do stuff. So like even with this Mordant Rhed, I can play the drums, so we can always practice. I don't got to worry about some motherfucker crying and not showing up or drunk. The guy we had before he called himself the sodomist. That guy would show up fucked up or not show up at all and run into a ditch and just always doing fucked up shit like that. I want to have a solid base of people to work with. So when we're working on material, I don't got to rely on somebody else. As far as my drum playing, hell, the people we play live, the people we have playing drums for us are fucking way better drummers than I am. I'm just like a punk rock approach to it. And as far as my drum playing, my favorite drummer is Mick Harris from Napalm Death from the old days. He has like a hardcore and also blast beats, but it's very fucking. I don't want to use the word sloppy, but it's very loose feeling, and I like that shit compared to just some shit that's where it's picture perfect. I like that fucking punk rock looseness to it.
yeah. Well, and not, I'm not going to jump ahead too much, but I am going to say you did play on the new record, Eat
Yes,
Pussy for Satan. You actually played the drums on that record.
yes,
Was that like
yeah.
a last minute, like, hey, someone's got to do it. I want to get this done. You hopped in there and did it, or was it kind of, the plan all along when you guys were writing that record?
It was kind of a combination of both. We had this fucking idiot that was playing, and then he stopped showing up. And I actually have played drums on other recordings we've done too, like that "Fuck Your Feeble World" EP, which that album is more straight black metal. I play the drums on that too. It's because you just never can rely on people, and I like to just take care of shit myself. I don't like to rely on anybody.
Makes total sense, man. And how was high school for you? Are you fitting in high school, or you're just kind of fucking in your own world, or is there a group of guys you're hanging out with? Because I know when like I said, we're all about the same age period. Like, there's kind of cliques, right? You have back then in Jersey, it was like the metalheads, and then you had we used to call them the Hicks, believe it or not. It was like the hillbilly, the guys who all
Yeah,
drove the
yeah,
trucks with the boots and stuff like that. How about for you? What was it like in school? Houston? Were you going to? Was that where you're originally from?
yeah.
Is actually Houston?
Yeah, yeah, from here, Houston. Yeah, it was the same thing. You had people in the metal. You had like skateboarding motherfuckers, and they would call some people the new wavers and all this weird shit. For me, I had a good time in high school. You don't always hear these stories of people. Man, I was into metal and I was a weirdo geek, and I just found you know music helped me out. I cannot relate because I wasn't like that. I wasn't the motherfucker getting slapped around. I was the one slapping people around at school. I mean, not saying that I was some big badass, but I had a good time, and I never had that issue. I mean, I had dealt with shit like that in junior high, and I realized, you know what, you knock the shit out of a couple of people, and then that takes care of all that. And then in high school, I had a good time. I mean, I hung out with all kinds of people, of course, mainly the metal people and punk rockers, but I talked to people that were, jocks or soch motherfuckers or a whole bunch of fucking black guys listening to rap shit. I go talk to whoever. I get along. I mean, I got along. I mean, like as far as fighting in high school, I did get into fights early on, but after 10th through 12th, I just had a good time, man. Just hanging out with everybody. And I don't know. A lot of people tell me how they fucking hated high school. I fucking loved it, man. And I'd be in the parking lot. I can still remember being out there playing like Fear of God demos in the parking lot, turning that shit up all the way. And people were like, what in the fuck is wrong with you listening to this shit?
So you start getting into heavier music like we all do, right? You're what? Slayer, Megadeth, Creator, Laws Rocket, these kind of things, right? So is this the
Yes.
beginning for you when you start like, you hear Slayer, it starts getting a little heavier and you start leaving those other bands. For a period, we all kind of do that, right? You leave those bands behind, which if they come back around eventually, those old bands you first start listening to. But when do you start progressing into like the Creator, Sepulturas and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's the same, just like everybody. You used to get Kill 'Em All and think, oh, fuck. Because I still remember the first time I heard Kill 'Em All, I think I was in seventh grade. And at the time on the bus, you would ride the bus with seniors, also high schoolers. They drop you off at the junior high, and then seniors get off. And then those guys would bring boom boxes. I still remember clearly hearing Am I Evil? I mean, I didn't know what fucking Diamond Head was back then or nothing, but I just heard this, like, man, this is fucking great, man. And so I had to find out more about that. And then, but one band that I always wanted to check out back then was Iron Maiden. And then when I got it and listened to it, I was like, this is not as what I expected, from the covers. I expected it to sound more harsh. But I mean, of course, I learned to like it, and I do like Iron Maiden. And then it was just a progression of getting into all that shit, Metal Church, Overkill, which I really like. Oh, I still love Overkill. But then my next step was at this point, I don't remember what year this was, but I was into the Slayer and all that shit, and also into Minor Threat and Black Flag and whatnot. But then I heard Sepultura Beneath the Remains. What year was that came out? 88 or something. I can't remember. And that's when started crossing over and said, okay, more of this shit. Nuclear Assault,
I love Nuclear.
Sepultura, Sacred Reich, all kinds of shit like that.
What are you guys at this time? Are you starting to go to shows? And what's some of the venues you're circulating over in Houston at this time period?
Yeah, anybody that's around here definitely, at least the old fuckers, remember it's a place called the Axiom, and that's where all the crazy fucking shows happen, and people would get beaten half to death outside. And there was out across the street from the venue, there was like a ditch with the railroad tracks, and I know many people had their asses beaten down there. And it was just as they use the term sketchy these days, it was very much so. And there was a sense of danger. Like, if I go there, if I bump into the wrong person, I may have my ass beaten half to death. And it was a cool thing. And, a lot of people always say, yeah, man, back in the old days, you get your ass kicked. And it was fun. But honestly, I'm glad it's not like that now, because I don't want to go to a show and have to get into a fight with somebody. I just not interested. I mean, if I have to, I will, but I'd rather not. But back then it was cool because there was like a sense of danger to it, and like we had the Axiom. There was a place called the Vatican, which too was also had a lot of great shows there. Those two places, there were other venues too, but those were the two main ones. And there was also a place called Numbers, which is like a dance goth club, but they would have bands play there too. And that place still exists, actually. The other two that I just mentioned no longer exist.
What, 1990, you're at an arcade, and it's when you first found out about Bathory?
God damn, man, you did your fucking research, man. Holy shit. Man, yeah, that there was an arcade by the house, and all in the neighborhood, there was a lot of guys who were into punk rock and hardcore and metal, and everybody would hang out there. And I remember we were in there, and a friend of mine would work there so we could play whatever music we would want. And this older guy was some fucking weirdo, probably wanting to do, I don't know. He was some fucking idiot
Yeah, I'm gonna
who
ask you about
actually
this
he's
guy. I've
dead
heard
now.
about this dude.
Yeah, he killed himself, but he came in there. Was y'all want to hear some shit, man? Listen to this, and it's Bathory. I was like, wait, what? And he put it on. It was Under the Sign of the Black Mark. I didn't know what it was because it was just a dub tape. I was like, man, fuck. I need to get a copy of this, man. And then, so just like everybody else, you hear the tape, and then I had never seen a Bathory cover or nothing. All I knew is just from that music, it had such a mysterious feel to it. And the first time I ever actually saw a Bathory album cover is when I went to that Sound Plus and I saw they had the Return on vinyl. I was like, oh, that's them, and still never saw any pictures of them. But then I didn't see any pictures until Blood, Fire, Death came out. Or did Blood, Fire, Death come out in '88? I can't
That was
remember.
that was the first one you purchased. Actually, was Blood, Fire, Death.
No, I had the other ones, but they didn't have any pictures in them. Yeah, actually, I think so. Because you're right. Actually, because I had Under the Sun of the Black Market, I just listened to that, and then actually Blood, Fire, Death, I actually did buy that, and they had the actual picture inside. So that's why it was such like, wow, this is what they look like. And then plus it looked cool, man. They had the swords and in that misty forest. It just captured my imagination.
And the guy who actually got you basically had the tape. So he had told you that he had seen Bathory in the woods during some like orgy or some shit like this, basically.
Yeah. And at the time, like, oh, no shit. And then I realized it was fucking full of shit. He said he was going through the woods and he was up in New York. New York. He's up in the woods and he looked through there and saw a fire and Bathory is playing and some guy with his face all scraped up was screaming. And I was thinking, okay, so I was 16 or so when I heard the story, and I was like, all right, this motherfucker's full of shit. This just doesn't even sound right. But in the same sense, I wanted to believe it because I was like, man, I hope this is true because I want this band to be like this. But yeah, he was some fucking weirdo, and he did not dress metal or nothing. He looked like some typical, just not nerdy, but a normal guy. But he was very, very fucked up. He always getting arrested, and I heard one time he was probably about 20 years old, and we were 15, 16, and he had been pulled over and the cops beat the shit out of him one time. And he's just one of those guys that's always doing stupid shit. And then years later, he fucking blew his brains out. So,
Damn. Didn't he hold a gun to his head in front of you guys at a club or some shit
yes,
like that?
yes,
The arcade?
yes. Yeah. You know what? It's funny that too. I've had several people do shit like that in front of me. It sounds like bullshit, but it's true. That guy did that. He brought a fucking it was some kind of small revolver, and he kept trying to act all cool and put that to his head. And the reason I'm laughing because that shit happened again probably 8 years ago, and I talked about it in a video where some guy. I know I'm getting off track, but
No,
this
cool,
guy,
man.
we were at a bar. This guy was there, and he was with his wife. He kept saying, "Hey man, you want to go back and fuck my old lady?" And I was like, "Man, this guy seems fucking weird." But whatever reason, we went back over there, and this motherfucker was bragging about how he's a Instagram account, and he was going live, and he kept coming in there. And he had a pistol, and we were out in the backyard, and he put it to his head and went click, 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 and then point to the sky, and boom! And he was going live on one of those fucking things. I said, what the fuck? I said, man, we need to get out of here, man. This is.
Time to
I like
leave.
funny shit, but this is taking it to a different level. But anyway,
Damn.
but back to the other guy. Yeah, he fucking did end up shooting himself. So I don't know because he used to always try to look cool in front of the teenagers, and who knows? I guess he was trying to look too cool and blew his fucking brains out.
So you're into Bathory, and then how do you find Venom? That just kind of just comes into the.
Yeah. It's funny. I did hear Bathory before I heard Venom, but I did discover them shortly after that, and I bought the Welcome to Hell, and I was probably 17 or 18 somewhere around that range because I know I was still in high school when I got that Bathory, and to me, Welcome to Hell still is the best one for me. I mean, black metal is good, but At War with Satan and other stuff is good, but I just love it how the bass is so fucking in the front on that, man. And again, going back to drum playing, people talk shit about that, but I like that loose kind of feeling drums. And people used to talk about how that drums were shitty on there. I thought they were fucking great. Okay, maybe it doesn't line up completely to a metronome, but you know what? It fits the music.
You also into Darkthrone at that time period, right?
Yeah, actually, a friend of mine had bought Soulside Journey. You know, it just he bought that. Okay, another cool death metal band, and I really liked it. And honestly, when they came out with the next album and it was black metal, I was kind of pissed off. I was like, this is not what I expected. Of course, my sentiment has changed. I fucking love that shit, but at the time, I was pissed because I like black metal, but it's just that's not what I wanted to hear from them. But it's changed. I fucking love all those. Their 3-4 albums are black metalish, even Panzerfaust. All those albums are fucking great. Kind of jumping ahead about this YouTube channel because I don't know. I'm sure you can all relate where you think about something like, oh, I remember this, and then you forget it. Anytime I'm out with the buddies, we're all talking. Hey, remember this? Remember this? I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot about that. And I make sure I make a note of it to remember if this is a cool story to tell. Because otherwise, off the cuff, I can't remember all that shit. But if I document it, at least I remember. Okay, this is a fucked up story. I can tell it on here because otherwise, I would just forget it. You know.
Happens with age, man. Happens to all of us now.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I was talking to Vincent Crowley, about YouTube. I was like, man, I said, you got all these fucking stories. You need to start writing that shit down and telling these on video, man. Because I know he's got a lot of crazy ass shit he could talk about. But if you just get on at least for me, if I just get and start talking with no plan, it's like I just forget stuff. And just like kind of how I'm talking now, I'm going all over the place because I get real excited about this shit and go across the way. So I'm glad you're kind of ironing this back down and taking it back to the direction it's supposed to go.
Well, what was your first band, man? What was like actually your first band? 'Cause I know you guys have been, you've been in obviously also with Mordant Rhed. You guys have all known each other for over 20 years and stuff. But for you personally, what was your first band?
Uh, Actually, back then we used to have a fucking garage band sound like fucking raw ass shit. We never played. We would play shows, quotation marks, in the neighborhood, and all the fucking idiots would show up, and it was just sloppy ass grindcore sound. Actually, if you're familiar with some shit like Minch, it sounded more more like that than anything. But from there, and then this, I I'm not going to name any of the bands because it's we used to play other bands we played around Houston and stuff like that, but nothing that made any national impact or anything. But yeah, it's been, and mostly I've always been doing vocals for bands. I mean, I've done drums. It's more of a necessity, but I've played shows a few times playing drums, and I don't know. I like to be out in the front talking shit, man. That's just how it's got to be.
Well, in 2017, you form Mordant Rhed, right?
Yep.
So when you do this, like when do you guys actually sit together and say, hey, let's really, because you guys had a plan. Like I said, you kind of knew right away you're going to go with the theatrical thing. Obviously, one thing about your band is that so obviously you have the YouTube personality, but also you want the band to be taken serious. You're not a joke band. You try
Yeah.
to keep that. You try to keep that like kind of a thing, right? So when do you guys sit together and say, hey, let's really try to do this?
Yeah, it's like I said, the other guys in the band I've known for years, and they're all been in other bands too. And we're like, man, let's just do a fucking straight. I mean, we've done black metal shit before. We've done hardcore. We've done death metal stuff. And I was like, let's just do a fucking straight black metal band. And like, yeah. So we agreed on that. And then we also talked about I want to have some kind of, I don't want to use the word gimmick, but some kind of image to it. And I think corpse paint is cool, but that's not some shit I want to have to put on every time. Like somebody told me, man, you should do a YouTube channel and just put corpse paint on. I said, man, that would look fucking stupid,
Every
man.
day, imagine that having to do that shit.
Yeah. I thought, you know what? Put a fucking mask on. And I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to get a mask and put fucking patches on it and look like some ragged hillbilly looking shit and take it from there. Where it's kind of like if you were actually going back to Return of the Living Dead, people call that a comedy, but that movie is still, there's funny shit that happens, but it's still played as a straight movie, like a straight horror movie. That's how I approach the humor on here, where there's absurd shit, but I don't want it to get so goofy where it's like some kind of trauma shit, where it's serious, but there's still some funny stuff that goes on because I don't want to be known as some fucking joke shit. The band is definitely serious. You're not going to be hearing funny lyrics or stuff like that.
Yeah, the message
And
is
that's
definitely different, you know.
yeah. And also even the music. We all have similar tastes. We like all kinds of shit, and if the song comes out, it sounds like it's black metal. If it sounds like punk rock, like you said, you played earlier that My Hatred Burns. That's pure fucking hardcore, and it just came out like
A
that.
lot of
It
influences
wasn't.
there, man. That's one thing
Uh,
about the band that you can definitely hear.
yeah, and we try to make it where it's a smooth transition, where it's like, okay, one song sounds this way, another one that way, but you can still tell it's the same band. It's not like it sounds like a compilation. Like, is that the same band, really? You hear some shit like that, and you know, actually, what influenced me to really like that way of writing is Righteous Pigs. When I got stress related, the first song, Eulogy, it's got the deep vocals, and then the rest of it's more shouted. I was like, I fucking love how that opened up, and then the album is still different. And that's when I realized, you know what, you can do other stuff too. It doesn't have to just sound like straight death metal all the way through or whatever. And we made a conscious effort to make sure we tried to write songs that stood out. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but at least they it doesn't sound the same. Like I fucking love war metal and brutal shit, but sometimes if it's just you get that ear fatigue where it all just sounds the same, you got to kind of put in a little bit of
Song
groove.
didn't pause, you wouldn't know the difference,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
You know. Well, and the name, so the band name comes from the Mark Riddick compilations back in the day, which
Yep,
had like Crossfade. It was Gore Mordant, right? For there was like I think it
yep.
was 91, 92, had stuff like Embalmed on there. Oh god, Butchery, Exhumed. That's where you kind of took that part of that name from.
Yeah, I've talked about it. And it's funny too. Mark Riddick, I've corresponded with him a little bit too and told him about that. And he thought it was cool. But yeah, because at that point, 91, 92, that's when I started getting into the more underground shit. Because up to that point, it was just the Sepulturas, Sodom, Creator, Destruction, shit like that. But then started getting into tape trading. Back then you would send people order demos. They put a ton of these little flyers and stuff. And I got a flyer for the Gore Mordant compilation. I ordered both of them. The first one came out, and then ordered the second one. And it was cool. It had a cool cover and also a big fold out with all the band logos. That's where I first heard Cyanide and
Wasn't
Exhumed.
one of the covers was green, right? And the other one was kind of like this reddish, pinkish kind of. I don't know if it was, but it kind of had that.
I
There
think
was
it
two
was
different
yellow.
colors of those.
Yeah, one was green, one was yellow. But then again, he may have printed up them in random
Yeah,
colors
because they were
too.
dubbed. All those, they were all
Yeah,
dubbed comps.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
yeah,
So
literally, it's that Mordant, that Gore Mordant. I was like, I wanted to, because we were trying to think of band names. I wrote all these different names down, trying to think of something that would stand out. And two, when I do a band name, I want to make sure if you Google it or look it up, that's the only thing that would come up. So, I mean, if you look up Mordant Rhed, actual paint color would come up. That's why I put the H in the RHED.
yeah.
So you type that in, nothing else comes up. But I wanted a name that sounded, you know, horrific somewhat, but also had something based where it takes homage from the shit that influenced me. And those Gore Mordant compilations were really the turning point. I was like, okay, yeah, now I'm getting to the real shit. And then started getting to Earache record, or I'm sorry, Earache, I mean Wild Rag Records, Seraphic Decay, and shit like that. Then I started understanding this is the real shit right here. So yeah, it's just want to pay homage to that, man, because it's a big deal to me.
Who did your guys' logo for you? Because I know you guys use this couple different logos on the demos and stuff, but you guys have that main one. Um, there's kind of like that main one I see mostly with all your band photography and a couple, obviously the new cover. Um, so who actually designed that for you? Is that in house?
Actually, it was a harsh storm. It was raining really hard outside, and I heard lightning hit the ground, and I went into the shed, and there was a paper that had that logo on there. So I think it was straight from fucking Satan itself. That
That
shit.
fucking logo.
Yeah.
You made that shit. I was gonna
Yeah.
say,
Well, we try to do everything in house. I mean, everything we
yeah,
do.
very DIY, right? You guys do a lot of shit like that.
Yeah, because I don't want to fucking rely on anybody, man. Or rely rather. We do our logos. I did that logo, but actually our bass player, he can do logos really good too. But I made that logo. We do all of our designs, our layouts, our photography, our videos, music video. We do all that shit because I don't want to have to rely on some unreliable, fucking lazy piece of shit, because that's just how people are. When we want to do something, we go and do it.
Where are you guys rehearsing at first, too, man?
I have a rehearsal space in my house.
What's the first Mordant Rhed song you guys wrote?
The first one we wrote was what the fuck was it called? It's Night of the Sulfur Emanation is what it was, and we don't even. That was on the second demo, and we don't even play that shit anymore. But it has a very battery kind of sound, mid tempo with the double time on the ride, that kind of shit. It's mid tempo, and that song is on the second demo, and then we did a live album or a live EP. It's called Live at the Z Bar. That song is on there, but that was the first one we wrote.
I don't know about the drummer situation, but the lineup is pretty much is the same one since 2017, right? Which is what Nocturnal Penetrator on bass. What is if you want it? What is the lineup of the band? The official lineup.
It's just me and the Nocturnal Penetrator on bass, and then we have Serizawa, the Ugly One, on guitar, and that's also another movie reference. Two movies in his name: Godzilla, because Dr. Serizawa is who fucking killed Godzilla with the hydrogen, whatever the fuck it's called in the first movie, but he spelled it different with an X instead of S, I think is the original. And then the Ugly One is taken from a movie called At the Earth's Core with Peter Cushing and Doug McClure. It was one of those monster dinosaur movies, and there was a fucked up caveman with a mutilated face called Jubal the Ugly One. So we took it from that.
Going back to those masks too, that was like, so was that Mentors inspired and with a lot of that
Oh
too?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Nice.
it's like we like the Mentors, but then it's guys with ski masks and shit like that. Is it original? No, there's tons of people that do that already, that done it before us and whatever. But I just thought, you know what, let's do masks, and I just wanted to put these fucking patches on here to make it look more ragtag and just. Again, we're not groundbreaking. Other people have done this shit, but we just wanted to do that. And plus, it's easy to put on and off without having to put corpse paint and shit on.
And right away, are you like that? So when you guys are getting together material, right? Because you guys do the first demo of 2017, 4 tracks. So is it right away like, okay, we need to have character? Because you guys definitely have that, which we'll talk about some of the songs too. You definitely have that fuck the world vibe going on. So that's right away. Do you guys sit down and be like, this is basically what the band is about? Anti-cis. Obviously, we know these days, society is completely fucked up. So
Yeah.
From selfies to Facebook to social media, it's just a fucking mess. And we all know, because we come from a different time period, man. We come from a whole different time period. I mentioned 1 million bands now and shit. Like, it's like you said, there's some great bands out there, but you have 1 million to choose from. I know even from doing this show, we get promos sent to us, or there's like 50 bands a week. Like,
I'm sure.
It's crazy, So for you, is this something that's very important to you right away? Like, this is the message that we're trying to deliver on our records, and especially we'll start with the first demo. Like I said, it's 4 tracks, came out January 2017. Is this something that was part of the plan from the day one?
Yeah, well, that first demo was actually a piece of shit. I don't know, some of these fucking underground fuckers might think, no, that's their best stuff because it sounds like fucking absolute garbage. And it was literally just put on cassette, recorded. It sounds like shit. And I think we only made literally 30 copies of that. And we played limited shows back then. And then, but from the beginning, though, we did want this fucking antisocial kind of approach, kind of a Satan serial killer mixed with G.G. Allen kind of shit, because I like the satanic lyrics and all that, but it's just like if I open up a black metal album and see the same shit about goats and sodomy and just the typical shit, I just don't even read those lyrics because it's the same stuff over and over. And again, I like it, but as far as my point of view, I just wanted to do something more psychotic, kind of a reflection of the world we live in, so to speak. Because there's talks about all kinds of fucked up shit, people on drugs and hookers and people covered in human bite marks, just bizarre shit like that. And I try to write stuff where it has a total antisocial approach. And And I know tons and tons of people I talk to online, they tell me the same thing. I know what you're talking about. Fuck all these motherfuckers, so people can relate to it. I mean, not relate to killing people, but just relate to just this whole fucked up place we're in. Our band has nothing to do with any politics or shit like that or whatever. It's just about just fucking hating most society. Honestly, the only time I feel at home is when I'm at a show or something with people that are into this stuff. I go to other places. I don't even want to talk to anybody. They'll make me fucking sick. I mean, I don't wish any say y'all go fuck those people up. But my approach is go do what you want. You want
Do you
to
handle all the lyrics in the band?
Yeah. Yeah.
When do you guys play your first? What's the first official show for y'all?
We played some fucking shitty ass bar one time, probably about 10 people, 10 fucking drunk winos just sitting there going, what in the fuck is going on here? Early on the shows were nothing great. And then we were doing that. We did a second demo, and we did the best show we did. Luckily, we got the audio from it. It was that live to Z Bar, and it was literally some fucking
2018, right?
Yeah, it was some fucking bullshit where they had a battle of the bands. Said, man, we were all said, you know what? Let's go sign up for that shit. Just do it. And it was a pretty good amount of people. We got up there and started yelling all kinds of shit and screaming, and the crowd was fucking yelling. Some shit happened out in the parking lot. I'm just glad that we got the audio for it because we actually knew the guy that worked there, and he got us an audio from the fucking mixing board, whatever, and he got us that. And somebody else had somebody recorded the audio with their phone or something, and I kind of got it and integrated both of them, and it actually turned out pretty good for a live piece of shit. We did that 3-song EP or whatever. There was only because at the show you could only play 4 songs because it was a bunch of other bands. I think we got cut off after 3 because we're yelling so much shit.
Did
But
someone
it was a
toss
good
something through
time.
your window in the parking
Yeah,
lot? Someone?
they did. Yeah, we got into a fight, and yeah. All I know is I'm glad that back then people weren't so much taking so many videos and live streaming shit and stuff because some stuff just doesn't need to be seen.
Videotaped. Also put out another demo in 2018, the Decimation demo, right? Which was 4 tracks. That was what? So this is where so you got, was it 2 new tracks on that and 2 old tracks on that? Cause you had Eat Pussy for Satan on that. And then I think the other one you mentioned actually, Night of the Sulfur. And the other, was that the 2 new tracks you put on that one?
Yeah, we did. And it's funny that demo, we kind of fucked around and played with some keyboards in there, and it's okay, but it almost sounds too clean. I mean, it's not like it's high production, but it just sounds kind of too clean and tame. And I was like, we need to make sure this gets a little dirtier. So it's okay, but I don't feel like it's a good representation of what we were trying to do. But it's still cool to listen to.
On the new record too, right?
We do, yeah. I do like keyboards, but not too much, just enough to add some edge to it, some emotion. But I don't want it to become some symphonic bullshit. And I do like some symphonic black metal bands too. It's not my favorite, but I do like some of that. But we like to add a little bit to it just to add like a horror movie sound feel to it. But again, we don't ever want it to be where it's some emperor sounded shit or nothing like that.
Yeah, and then you guys put out that, and then COVID comes, right? That kind of fucks up the plans for a little bit. Like, obviously, such a fucking wish. It's funny. Every band we talk to has that same period of time. We're gonna, but for you guys, it obviously affected you all too. So you guys took a couple of years off, pretty much, because you guys didn't record again until 2022.
Yeah, that shit happened, and everybody lived through it. It affected the entire world, and I at the time, it was so new, didn't know what to. How to deal with it. Should you listen to the government? Fuck no. It's all bullshit, man. But the first part of it, we were trying to, social distance or whatever the fuck they call it. But then eventually I was like, man, fuck this shit, man. And we just started rehearsing again. And when we couldn't play shows, we would. It got to be where it was more of an outlet to hang out and have some drinks and and that's to this day it still is. We enjoy having band practice because it's play a little bit, talk some shit, and sometimes we'll get a good full practice in, then go out, eat afterwards, and get fucked up somewhere. And so it's always been a nice sense of community. So even while COVID was going on, we were still after a while we just got back together and started playing, and then that's when I started brainstorming about doing this YouTube channel. And I just figured it'd be a great thing because plus the shit that I talk about on the YouTube channel, we already talk about that kind of stuff when we're hanging out. Oh man, remember that old band? Remember this, man? Remember that zine? And I was thinking, man, I should just talk about this online, And it's also too, it's very strategic because if we started a YouTube channel and then I just talked about our band, that's it. People would watch, but they would get bored. You got to talk about other stuff than just yourself, and that's why the majority of the stuff on there is about other bands.
Or
I
horror
don't.
movies and shit like that. You
Yeah,
guys got there's a lot of content on there. Which we're definitely we'll definitely talk about that too. Because like I said, your channel's how I basically got introduced to your band too. So it is actually kind of like you set up a cool tool, man. Because I don't know if I would have heard of you guys if it wasn't for the YouTube channel.
yeah,
'Cause you guys put out that Hatred of Humanity demo in 2023. You guys did a video too. Was that the first video you guys did?
we did, and you know what? That right there is what opened my eyes. Like we can do this shit ourselves. We don't need a fucking label because we did that little hatred for humanity. It was more of a compilation. It has that song recorded and some rehearsal stuff that sounds okay, and we just went all out with it. We pressed it on CD and did it in an 8 by 8 inch book with like 12 pages or something with lyrics and fucked up pictures. And then we made the music video, and we sold a fucking good amount of those, man, just from doing it ourselves. And I was thinking, man, we don't even fucking need a label, man. We just do it ourselves, and that kind of really opened my eyes to it. Like, yeah, we're on to something.
Well, you record all your own shit too, right? You guys record
Yes,
all the records. You guys, it's all like I said, it's all in house at the end of the day.
yes.
Was there
Yeah,
a period I heard that at one point you guys were considering not doing any more live shows during when that COVID happened? Was that kind of like was that actually a fact that you guys were kind of at one point saying, maybe we won't do shows anymore?
yeah, it was. We literally like, fuck it, we don't need. We'll just fucking because we're gonna do the band no matter what because it's just we just like to get together and hang out and do shit. So we just thought, you know what, we'll become one of those fucking black metal bands that just record shit and don't ever play. Fuck it, it's too much trouble, man, hauling all that shit out there and playing in front of 5 people or whatever. So that was the plan, man. And then we had the guy that was the drummer. He was always in and out. So sometimes I'd play drums in rehearsal, sometimes he would. And but yeah, we weren't planning on playing any shows. And so people kept asking, man, we're never gonna play. I was like, I ain't playing shit, man. And then I don't know, it just this whole character and talking shit. I was like, man, we gotta take this out in front of people. So we thought, maybe we'll play some shows. And we kept having issues with a drummer. And then at one point we were thinking about doing live. The drummer was so fucked up that I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just play drums and we'll just find somebody else to sing. We had that thought, but the way it is now, it worked out for the better because I don't know. For me, this the kind of person I am. I am not the kind of person to sit behind a drum kit. I'm the kind of person who needs to be out there yelling shit, and I have uh, a clear vision of what the band needs to sound like. I mean, of course, everybody else, they write songs too, and like the ugly one, he writes most of the music. He's the brainchild, but he has the same approach that we do. Just punk rock, black metal, early '90s death metal. That's the way we look at it.
Well, you guys did what? So you guys did what? Three-day mini tour, San Antonio, Fort Worth, and Houston, and you guys also did Jersey and New York.
Yes, and you see, all those shows were good, and I have to say, if we didn't have this YouTube channel, we would have just showed up and people, they would have liked it, but it would not have had the same impact. I mean, we played up there in New York. That was a fucking wild show, man. It was people were slamming their asses off and drunk in there, falling all over the place and singing along in the mic. I thought I was fucking playing CBGBs or some shit like that. And it was a good time. And when you meet these people in person, it's just like I've talked to you online, but I meet you in person. It's like I've fucking known you my whole life, man. And it's been really cool meeting a lot of really cool people helping us out and whatnot.
Who are some of the bands you're doing shows with, during that time period, back at home and, out?
Yeah, I mean, mainly the Jersey bands like Jersey Devil from New Jersey, a black metal band, and then Open Grave from that area too. And then we played with Morbus 666. Who the fuck else? I can't. Fuck, I can't remember. Man, that's pretty bad. I can't. But I know the shows we have coming up, playing with some Texas bands I'm really looking forward to. We're playing with Hexaya, who they're on Hell's Headbangers, which is a fucking great black punk rock death metal, or they're black metal, but they have a female singer and her fucking vocals are probably deeper than mine. Brutal shit. ETD, Eat the Dead, who it's got Francisco, who does that other YouTube channel, jamming out all badass, and they're a great grindcore band. Playing with them, Lord Humongous, we have a show coming up. They all wear hockey masks and post-apocalyptic shit. So it's all bands that I like. Infuriator is another band we're playing with. So it's a lot of these newer bands, but they're all old guys in the bands, though.
Yeah, you also put out you fuck your feeble world. It's 11 tracks. Came out as a DVD and a CD, a slipcase on that one.
Yeah, again, we try to do something different. It's a CD, but it is in a DVD case, and it's basically those 4 new songs, and then as a bonus, as like hidden tracks, I have some of the old demos on there, and that live at Z-Bar shit is on there as well.
And Children. So you've used this a few times, I think, but with the Children of Spider Creek, that's Outer Limits influenced from like the '95
Yes,
series.
it is. It's based. Well, the song is not based on the episode, but the name is "Children of Spider Creek," or what is it? What the fuck is it? I get mixed up. What's the name of our song?
Children of Spider Creek.
Is that so? Okay, so the one on Outer Limits is Children of Spider County. That's what it is.
And,
yeah, it's
so
a cool. I fucking love Outer Limits, the original black and white one. That in Twilight Zone, that kind of shit.
You guys put that out, and then 2024, you guys do Touch the Skeleton. And where'd you guys? Yeah, Touch the Skeleton in the Forest EP. Where's that title from?
That was just some random shit. Because a lot of times when we would, we would write a song, we'd have a board, we'd write the names on there, and a lot of times if we didn't have lyrics, we just put, just a fucked up name, and then it was that song was originally called Spook Ass. It sounds spooky. It actually was meant to be like an intro, but then it just kind of warped into an actual full song. And as far as Touch the Skeleton in the Forest, I don't think it's actually from a movie. It just literally just popped in my head. Sounds fucking funny. Some kid maybe I was thinking about Stand By Me or something. Kids going in the woods to find a dead body and go, let's go touch it, man.
Well,
but and again, it's one of those names where it's like it'll at least get some attention. Like, wait, what is that about? So I try to be very strategic about stuff like that too. What will invoke someone to think, wait, what is that? Versus goat sodomy, anus for devil lick, whatever. You see that same shit. At least I try to think about something that would make someone give it a second thought or second look.
Well, the next one we're going to talk about definitely has that. But on this Skeleton in the Forest, what's that? So that's like studio tracks, and that's rehearsal. The rehearsals are from the YouTube live streams you guys were doing?
Yes. Yeah, it's got 2 studio tracks and then the audio from that live stream. And we did that. I was like, man, the audio sounds pretty good on this. Let's just put that on there as a fucking bonus, because just releasing a 2-song EP. I mean, unless we were doing it on a 7-inch, that would have been cool. We did it on CDs. Might as well put some extra stuff in there.
And you did the art for that?
Pretty good.
For that EP?
Yeah, did everything on there. Actually, the cover on that is a mug that I have that has a pentagram sculpture on there. I literally just took a picture of that and just blended it in there and made it look fucking cult, as these fucking young ass pussies call it.
and what's your videos, man? That's become so that is a big thing for you guys now, right? The music videos.
Yeah. And again, it's always the approach of what can we do to make it look different. And making a music video, some people think that that's not very cult, No, that's why I said, well, fuck you, motherfucker, because I like when bands do music videos, especially underground bands, and we just shoot all that shit and like that. The fuck was that? Like the that Touch the Skeleton video. This guy I knew had some lived out in the country, and he said he's kind of a hillbilly. Yeah, man, y'all come on out here, man. We'll set a fire, and yeah, we went out there and set a bonfire, and then it's one of those things where I had all this stuff storyboarded of different shots and bringing these lights out there and stuff. And that guy started barbecuing on the grill, and we started drinking, and it all went out the window. We just got the camera, started shooting. Everybody was fucked up out of their mind, and I didn't get any of the shots that I wanted. And but it still turned out okay. I mean, it was a bunch of pictures of us standing in front of fire, and then he had an old shed in the back that was overgrown with branches, and we're sitting there ripping through it like zombies. And if you could hear the audio, we're actually laughing so hard, and it doesn't sound very evil with the original audio. But again, it's just something to make people look at it, because I know when other bands do music videos, I'm all into it. I fucking love it.
Yep. I think, yeah, definitely. We all grew up in that, the music video thing, especially with the underground bands, man. It was actually, I always thought, the mainstream bands, you always saw tons of videos. It was always really cool when you saw the bands that you couldn't see all the time, because, you remember like the hard and heavy videos, you guys remember those, Ed,
Yes.
too, right? Like you didn't get all the cool stuff on those. It was even Headbangers Ball was the same way. You might get one video that you want to see. You're going to get like
Yeah.
a shitload of other videos. Not that the other videos are even awful, but you see these same videos all day. But sometimes you're going to get that one gem. You might get a Death Angel video thrown in back in the day,
Yeah.
or a Napalm Death video, or Cancer video, or something.
Yeah.
It's a totally different time period. So I definitely agree. And this takes us to the 2024 record you guys did, Eat Pussy for Satan, which Ed was just telling me before the show how much he loves this fucking title of this album. He's hoping that there's t-shirts available with it on the back that he can wear at the next Monstrosity gig. But it's definitely a gripper, man. Definitely a gripper, dude. So when do you guys, obviously this is a track, which I noticed on the track listing, it's Eat Pussy for Satan 2 on this record. You guys put the 2 afterwards, because obviously this appears back, I think, on the first time on the Live at the Z-Bar demo.
Yeah.
So how, I think it's a great title, man. And when do you sit there and say, you know what, this is what we're going to call this? Like, this is, like you said, it's like when you look at a cover and you have to listen to it. Like, how do you put something back when it has this title at first?
Yeah, that's how we always looked at it. It's and a lot of times we always joke around, hey man, would it be fucked up if a band came out with an album called this and say the most fucked up shit? And one day we just kept joking, yeah man, Eat Pussy for Satan. I was like, man, let's just name, have a song called that, and then years later, let's just call the fucking name of the album that. It just sounds so fucking absurd. And what's funny? When we were in Ohio playing that show in Columbus, we have patches that say that on there, and some guy goes, hey man, I want to get a patch. All right, cool, man. I'll give it to him as a logo. It says Eat Pussy for Satan. He was at the bottom. He said, do you have anything else that doesn't say that? I'm like, man, I said, fuck no. Well, man, I can't really wear that around my family. I said, well, fuck your family, man. What the fuck? Says, take it home, get a fucking marker and draw it out, cover it up then, man. I was like, this is fucking heavy metal. We're not here fucking Christian unblack metal or some shit like that. I thought that was so funny. And he was a nice guy. In reality, I wasn't being an asshole to him. I was kind of just laughing. I was like, are you serious? But yeah, man, because I think about when I look at records, I see something fucked up and weird, I'm going to pull it up, versus you see the same shit over and over, pentagrams, whatever. It's like, yeah. So what can make it stand out? That's kind of what we came up with.
Yeah, we're going to play a song off of that actually here in a second. We're going to play The Man Who Fucked Life, which it's a great tune, man. And when did you realize, we all, I remember when I was a kid, I want to say it was 87. Like, when do you realize humanity's fucked up? Because I remember there was actually when I was a kid, there was a shooting in New Jersey down by my house at this D Rose furniture store. Some guy went in there, took hostages, killed somebody. So I was really young. This is when I first realized, like, it was my first real taste of, like, you see the movies, you see The Exorcist and shit, and you kind of still realize that it's a movie. When do you remember in your life when you realized, like, man, fucking humans are evil? Because humans are pieces of shit. I mean, we see it every day now, and we always have seen it. But when is the first time? Because I know that a lot of your lyrics deal with, especially on this record, from what when do you personally first say to yourself, man, like, humans are fucked up?
Shit. All you gotta do is watch the news. But as far as like an aha moment of when I like, oh, I don't remember. I think it was a gradual thing, well, you know what? Actually, let's think about this. Actually, I don't know why I started realizing that this kind of shows my fucked up sense of thought, but in the was it 85 whenever they had that We Are the World bullshit. I remember that was
USA
making me
for
sick.
Africa.
I was like, yeah, I was like, fuck all these motherfuckers, man. And, I don't know why. I guess in theory they were trying to do a good cause, but in reality, just again, that's not that situation wasn't one that made me feel like humanity was fucked up. But I guess for me, I thought it was fucking garbage, and I didn't give a fuck about helping anybody. But then you realize, well, I'm the problem too,
Revok's like,
and
oh, this USA for Africa, starving kids, fucking world's evil.
no,
I'm
but it's like a step by step thing, and it started. I use this analogy all the time where people are fucked up. Animals don't think like this, but people do. Everybody does. I do too. Like you hear, hey, did you hear about so and so? Whether it's somebody you know or a celebrity, and you're waiting. Oh, what fucked up happened? Did they do something? Like you're kind of excited, and then I realize, why am I getting excited about this? I should not, And everybody's like that. That's why people like bullshit. They like negative news. Nobody wants to hear about the kid that got saved. They want to hear about the fucking sicko that beat the kid with that sledgehammer. That's what they want to hear. And they act like, oh my god, that's so horrible, but I want to watch it some more. And that's my approach to why society's fucked up. And I'm just not into any of this positive shit because it doesn't matter. You try to help people and they don't want your fucking help. They just, what are you going to help me? Give me more. And it's not just anybody in general. It's everybody. Everybody. That's why I just fuck politics and fuck all these motherfuckers. Fuck mainstream TV. I just try to get myself as far away from that shit as possible, and I'm more happy.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about the new record, the 2024 record. First, we're going to play from Mordant Rhed. We're going to play "The Man Who Fucked Life" from "Eat Pussy for Satan," from which we'll talk about the Goat Throne Records too, which you wound up on this one. And is there anything this song itself? Anything in particular with the song?
It was just literally to create a narrative of something of an amalgamation of other stories of people I've known that fucked their lives up, alcohol or just self-destructive. I know a lot of people that just for whatever reason, like, I don't know why, man, I just keep fucking doing self-destructive shit. I keep cheating on my wife, or I keep doing this fucked up shit. And the song title, actually, I think it's written on the cover of that Fuck Your Feeble World. On the corners, there's like some handwritten shit on there. And when I put that on there, I was trying to think of just write something totally just misanthropic on there, some self-hate shit. And I put, the man who, what, actually, it derived from that old movie, The Man Who Knew Too Much. And I thought, how about the man who fucked life? And then later on, so let's just call a song that. And it's literally, if you read the lyrics, it's about somebody that fucking hates himself and just has disgust for everything. And it's not autobiographical because I hate people, but in the same sense, I don't sit around feeling sorry for myself. I just don't go around society. I just stay with my people, and I'm good.
It's a great song title, man, and we're going to play it now. This is Mordant Rhed with "The Man Who Fucked Life" off Eat Pussy for Satan, 2024. We'll be right back after this track on the Tampa Morgue.
Times are good, but my past is here. Coming down.
And that was The Man Who Fucked Life from Mordant Rhed. And let's talk about the record, man, which you're definitely not going to find a cover of USA for Africa on here. We've already covered that. You know, that's not happening. But so Goat Throne, how do you get involved with them? Because that's a Texas label, right? And I know
Yeah,
um, they had what Molder on them, Funeral
yeah.
Vomit, Wolf Skull, and stuff like that. So how do you get involved with them?
Actually, we're playing a show, Wolf Skull, coming up. But yeah, good fucking label. And you know what's funny? Again, this was at the point where I was like, we don't. Why do we need a label? We're selling. I mean, for independent, just doing ourselves, we were selling pretty good. And when I say pretty good, enough to keep making money back, to keep pressing shirts and stuff. So we keep selling out of stuff. So I'm like, we don't need a fucking label. But then the guy Necron, who does a YouTube channel, and he's also in. He was been in Thorn Spawn. He's in Pious Levis now. He's been in Indignation. He's older. He's older than I am. He's been around a long time, and he's the one that suggested to Aaron, who runs Goat Throne, hey, hit these guys up. And he sent me an email. I was like, Goat Throne. I was like, I knew the label. I already knew who it was, but I really was not even thinking about pursuing something. I know in the past we had talked to a fucking old homeboy from Hell's Headbangers about doing something, and he was like, "Yeah, but it'd be like a year from now because we're backed up." And I was like, "Man, I am not fucking waiting a year. I'd rather just keep pressing the shit ourselves." So we kind of just left that. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to working with them later in the future, but we thought let's just do it ourselves. And then Aaron sends me an email from Goat Throne and starts asking. I was like, "Oh, this sounds interesting," and he kept emailing back and forth. I said, "Here," I said, "Call me. Let's just talk." And he we talked some stuff, and I was like, "Yeah, let's do something." He did cassette and CD, and he did everything he promised, and it was just on a good old handshake deal, and I was happy with what it did. And he's helped us, like that little Texas tour we did. He was instrumental in getting some of that set up for us and making contacts, and he's made contacts for us. So it's been beneficial, and also too, the benefit of having a label is to help get that distribution out there. Because I mean, you can only sell so much shit off Bandcamp from the YouTube, and I'm not into this to make money or become some fucking selling millions of or even hundred thousands. That's not that. But we put the time into this music. We want people to hear it. I mean, it's not like I want to be some fucker in a basement crying about life. I feel sorry for me and show my demos to my fucking grandma and that's it. I want people to hear it.
And at first, it was going to be an EP before you hooked up with Goat Throne.
Yeah, it was. It literally, we had like 4 songs. We're like, yeah, we'll just release another EP. And then he talked with that. So we had to go and fucking fast forward and start writing this shit. And we wrote that. I don't want to. It wasn't rushed, but I say that we definitely, if we did another full length in the future, I would not do it in that short period of time. I mean, I think it's fine. Some of the other guys in the band, like, man, we could have did this better or whatever. But I think for what it is, it turned out fine, and people seem to be really receptive of it. So I'm happy. And also with Goat Throne, on their pressing, they're not cheap. They didn't do some cheap ass shit. It's multi-page booklets, with all the lyrics and pictures, not some one single page crap, So I was happy with all that, and we still talk with them to this day all the time, and yeah, so it's been
So,
pretty good.
some of the tracks, like obviously we talked about the message of the CD. So some of the tracks, like "Hatred Burns Dark," which we actually opened up the show with, that's basically like anti-culture of what we have now, right? Like all this, the is like all the what we have basically in 2025, the selfies, the video, you got to see what everybody's eating every fucking day on Facebook. You got to see. Me and Ed are always talking about this. Like that's the problem. Like now when you were growing up, all these bands you used to love, man, you didn't know every second what they're doing. Now it's like you see everything 24/7. I mean, some of the bands that you kind of had that mystery of, now you know what they're eating for lunch.
Yeah, I know. It's like just that kind of thing, like Deicide. I always liked that fucking pure evil shit, but now you see all these interviews with Glenn Benton. He's more humanized. I mean, it's still fine. I mean, he still portrays himself fine in the interviews, but when you didn't see the interviews, and every once in a while you'd see some Satanist documentary, you'll see a click. quick clip of him talking, and it's just like, oh, that's it, man, it's cool, and now it's open. But I'm not opposed to social media. I think it's a cool thing. I mean, we've used it very well, but motherfuckers that are just obsessed with themselves and taking pictures and just, oh, hey, my followers, man, this and that. Or you go to the fucking gym and some fucking pussy's got cameras all up in front of the weight bench. I feel like going over there and dropping the fucking bench on it or the weight on his fucking throat.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. They have all the
It's
cameras set
just,
up all the way.
yeah, man, it's just like, come on. That's the kind of shit that makes me sick. And the thing about it, those are just a bunch of shallow motherfuckers, and all they're thinking about is they're trying to grow their audience and be popular. And somebody else can say, well, that's what you do. You're the same motherfucker. I mean, in a way, it is because I do want people to watch the shit, but I'm not interested in growing and being some quote unquote influencer bullshit. I just like to get on here and talk about music and stuff that I like, and sometimes talk about our band. And if somebody thinks that's influencer bullshit, then they can go fuck themselves. That's all I can say.
Well, one thing about your show too, man, is you kind of like, as you could tell with our thing, we're kind of like we kind of do the documentary style, obviously. And for you, I noticed there's a lot of facts in your videos. It's not just like you kind of give the background a little bit. Especially I watch a lot of your horror stuff I've seen, because that's my kind of world too. And there's a lot of information there because that's one thing you know what you're talking about. You put time into it, and you could tell that you're not just popping on screen being like, "Yo, what's up?" Like
Yeah.
that. So I mean, that's you do yours is kind of educational in a lot of ways, but with some of the horror movie stuff and the old record stuff and everything. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. I
And I
guess,
think that's what makes you a little different.
yeah, because I think the thing what I also too, I could get on here and talk about a movie and tell everybody that played in it or whatever, but I like to tell stories and how it affected me. Because think about when I watch, listen to other people talk, I like to hear personal stories. Oh, the first time I saw The Exorcist, or the first time I heard blasphemy or something, I try to incorporate my own personal stuff instead of just repeating the same facts over and over. So that's what I try to do in that. And talking about your podcast, it is very documentary style because when I listen to the other stuff on there, I was like, this is good. And even to this point, this has been a very enjoyable interview because you've been asking pretty interesting questions, I think. So I think you got a good thing going on here.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's just how we decided to do it from day one. Cause there's a lot of, I watch, if you see, I'm sure you've seen it too. You see a lot of interviews with bands and it's just like, everybody's going to talk about the new record. Everybody's always
Yeah.
going to talk about that or, but just some of the questions I'm like, man, you could be, you know, like, you could be asking so much cool shit that you never hear before, but you're just finding out what's his favorite city to play in. I mean, that's not bad questions and shit, as long as the other
Yeah.
stuff's there, but there's a lot of just those kind of interviews where you could just tell that the person interviewing them didn't do any kind of homework at all, or just kind of, it's very common, I think. And that's where me and Ed kind of decided to do the opposite of that because, I wrote for zines like 20 years ago.
Okay.
And, so we've all kind of had this background where we kind of wanted to do it a little different. And, talking about, so we'll end the music thing. I will mention, obviously, there's a couple on this record that you just put out in 2024. There was the Underground Rape Cult. That's a media, is basically about the media, that tune.
Yeah, it can be, and also some of these songs I try to make it ambiguous, where it could is it does it mean an actual rape cult of people being taken down to a dungeon, or is it stuff that you're being indoctrinated with watching? So again, not saying the lyrics are all artsy and it's real great stuff that people are, oh, his lyrics are so badass. It's not that, but I try to make sure there's some stuff to where it sounds like one thing, but it's there's also different things underneath it. Because okay, yeah, you see an album, Eat Pussy for Satan. Oh, this must be some crazy shit, and some of it is pretty crazy, but some of the lyrics are more just about just society and mind control and shit like that. So I try to put a yin and yang, or balance it out, so to speak. Where it's not just completely absurd shit all the way through, because I want it to be not necessarily taken serious, but not just thought of, oh, this is fucking joke shit.
How about Analingus Satanicus?
that song,
That's Ed's favorite.
you know how that song title came? We
Reminds me of you, Tony.
That's Ed's favorite song.
I think of you every time I hear it.
That's a
all
great
right.
song, man. Like I said, the songs. I mean, I really like this record. I really dig it, man. It's definitely,
Well, actually, to talk about that song title, where it came from, is it's again. I try to all the people I talk to online. I try to keep everybody involved. Like we do live streams. I just make sure I answer every question and talk to all these people and have a good time. And I thought, what can we do to get people involved? So I put up a video. I said, we're going to do a video, and people in the comments put what you think the name of the next song should be. And it was literally a contest of people putting all kinds of shit in there. And then we did a live stream and we picked that. Some guy said analingus satanicus. And said, yeah, let's just use that. There was all kinds of fucked. Somebody, man, just some weird shit. One of them was like colostomy bag for Muhammad or some weird shit. And just, it was all over the place, man. And it was funny, but I thought, yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty absurd.
spread the convent with AIDS, which is actually was supposed to be infect the convent with AIDS, right? But it's
Yeah, it is. Man, you definitely you did do your research. But yeah, it was supposed to be infect the convent with AIDS, and for whatever reason, I was doing the layout and I was going so fast, and I put spread, and everywhere it is, it's spread. So if we ever repress it on vinyl or something, it'll be corrected. But I don't know,
like a
spread,
collector's edition.
infect, whatever, same shit.
And I killed 3 people with a crowbar, which you have a video for that too.
Yes,
That's a
that
hotel slaughter at Hookers.
Well, it's actually not killing hookers. It's killing the people because it's these fucking sick people had these hookers and were beating them and biting. Like it says, coked up hooker covered in human bite marks. Like some fucked up guys in there doing this to these women. And then this drunk guy kicks in the door and he's fucked up out of his mind. He's just swinging a crowbar, killing all these guys that were abusing these women, so to speak. And the song title is funny. A lot of different groups of friends I have, we have group texts, and everybody's always talking about fucked up shit. And one guy I knew was drunk, and I know he was fucked up. He put randomly, "I killed 3 people back in 1994 with a crowbar," and he was just drunk. I was like, "Hey, that's a good idea, man. Let's shorten that and call a song that." And it just sounds so fucking absurd. And yeah,
But you guys, so that's out, and you guys are actually you're doing a split, right? You mentioned Pittsburgh's Lord Humongous, and is that actually was
yes.
that coming this year?
Yeah, we're working on it right now. We have a show we're playing with them in Houston coming up in June. We're really looking forward to that. And I don't know, it just seemed like a natural package, us and them. And I first, how the fuck did they reach out to me or vice versa, or whatever? But we started talking online, and then I did a review of some of their demo tape that came out, and then I did an interview with the singer, and we just kind of had this built up this friendship online, and he was like, "Hey man, let's do a release." And originally it was supposed to be a 4-way split with these other bands, and even early on, I thought, man, this needs to be a split with just us. But if they want to do 4-way, it's fine. The other bands kind of crapped out for whatever reason, and he messaged me, "Hey man, you think it'd be cool? We should do a split between us." I'm like, I fucking prefer it. It just works better. Both bands have this aesthetic, and all actually, and the guys in Lord Humongous are older guys too. They're not some fucking young pussies. And again, I'm not against young people because I meet young guys in the scene that are cool. They know their shit. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm one of those old pieces of shit that, yeah, fuck any young people. I definitely don't think that way. But everybody in Lord Humongous is older, so they know what the fuck they're doing. And they play this great black thrash. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's coming out on Jem's label, JEMS, and I think Goat Throne may do a co-production with him. I'm not sure, but I know it's going to be on vinyl. It's going to be gatefold.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's I'm looking forward to it, man. It's cool shit. Their music is more black and thrash. Again, when we write songs, we weren't planning on, okay, it's got to sound a certain way. We just wrote songs, and some of these are more in the punk hardcore sound. Some of them are black metal. I mean, actually, one song just strangely started sounding like war metal, and it wasn't even planned on that. It just however it comes out.
When we say goodbye to you tonight, we're gonna play Clawhammer. So what can you tell us about you guys? You and Drucifer, right? We're gonna play Race with the Devil tonight, but you did Worship Satan and Kill Yourself. How did that come about?
It's really cool. That guy, he's here in the Houston area, and I'm sure I've been to the same shows as him many times over the years, but I didn't actually know him until he started doing the YouTube channel, and then we started corresponding, and then they have one of these local metal markets where vendors sell records and stuff, and I saw him there. I said, "Hey, man," we started talking. Then ever since then, we've been friends and hang out at shows and shit. And um, he had recorded a song online one time just as a joke. He goes, "Hey, if anybody wants to do vocals on this, have at it." Just kind of a joke. And I said, "I'll get that motherfucker." And I downloaded it and recorded the vocals. And he posted it up. People liked it. And then we were talking at a show. I said, "Man, we should just do a fucking war metal project." Okay, cool. And then I said, "But we're not doing drum machine." I said, I fucking hate drum machine." So he wrote the songs, put a drum track, and then I said, "Just send me the guitar tracks," and then I recorded the vocals or the drums and the vocals over it. And it's funny, I wanted to be raw, but we were still going to kind of mix it a little bit, kind of like Mordant Rhed, but then just literally recorded it, and I played with a couple levels, and I was like, you know what? It sounds better like this, just fucking raw. And even Drews, where he was gonna re-record the guitars, like, nah, man, leave it like that. Not that his playing's not sloppy; it's good, but he was wanting to, redo it. It's like, nah, let's just have it straight fucking war metal shit like that. And I'm pretty happy with it. People liked it, and it turned out pretty good.
You guys did what? It was 5 tracks, right, on that one?
Yep. And then that song "Race with the Devil," it's paying homage to that movie "Race with the Devil" with Warren Oates and Peter Fonda.
Yeah, that's actually what we're gonna play in a little bit here. And I did want to mention, obviously, you go back to the YouTube channel really fast. You started the channel July 13th, 2022. As of today, I think I saw you had like 503 videos up, maybe more now. Are you? So I mean, like I said, you kind of stand out. Like obviously we're in a time period where obviously you have Justin doing the Hell's Headbangers, which really I think picked up some steam for a lot of the YouTubers doing this stuff. Your channels, you got your own thing going on, man. Are you surprised how it's grown? Because at first, like you said, it was just meant to be a band page, right? And it kind of progressed into something else.
Yeah, it has. I didn't think it would take off. And it's not like it's some huge shit, but we get a good amount of people, and I've met a lot of cool people, and there's some solid diehard people that buy everything we put out, and there's real good support. So I've been happy with it. And as far as how it is now, I'm not sitting here thinking, man, I want to become huge and all the old 20,000 subscribers, 1,000,000 views. I really don't want that, because if it gets that big, that means that the wrong people are watching it. Right now, the right people are watching it. And I knew initially, first started this, I figured there'd be all these dumbasses would be talking shit on comments. And so in the beginning, it was kind of like that. And I would fuck with them and go back and forth. But then I just kind of stop wasting my time, because there's so many people that comment positive shit. I'd rather respond to them than some fucking idiots. And reality, we don't really get too many people talking shit on there. So that tells me that the right people are watching it. And if they do talk shit, I leave it. I don't delete any comments. I just leave them on there. But hey, it's turned out pretty good. And see where it goes.
Like I said to you like earlier, man, it's a pretty honest, if you actually watch, it gets, like you said, it's intense. There's some fucking crazy moments on there, some crazy tales and stuff, but like, it's pretty honest, man. You don't, you pretty much say how you feel. You don't there's some channels you watch that you feel are very not authentic. Like it's like someone, I don't know how to put it, like I guess pretending, right, to be like this extreme person, but you're pretty damn open. I've heard you mention bands that some people would be like, oh, because you're honest, man, this is what you like. You don't give a fuck what other people listen to. And I think that's cool. And I know for myself, it makes, when I watch your channel, it's entertaining. And I noticed you've been collaborating with other people and stuff like that, and now you have the thing going on, man. And I think it's good for the band, because like you had said earlier, if it wasn't, for myself, even I found out about your band through your channel, which began through me actually checking it out, which the mask, I got to admit, how do you turn it off right away when you say, what's this guy doing with the mask on? How do I
not watch this fucking idiot? Yeah.
Yeah. How do I not check this shit out,
It really is. I mean, I just try to be honest. It's not like, okay, let's turn this on. I mean, if anybody's hung out with me, it's the same shit. You know, we start talking and start getting loud and having a good time, and that's how it is. You know, and as far as trying to put on some fake shit, it's just nah, man. And as far as using the word influencer, well, if I'm influencing anybody, they're fucked up because I'm definitely not somebody that should influence anybody. Because I mean, I'm far from perfect. I've done fucked up shit in life and made many bad mistakes and all kinds of shit like that. And that's who I am. I don't try to act like some holier than thou and I know everything about the scene and I've done perfect things in my life. No, I'm a fucked up individual and just whatever. And I like what I like. I'll listen to fucking Beherit and then I'll go turn around and put on Erasure. I don't give a fuck.
And do you enjoy making the videos? Is there ever a time where you're like, man, I don't want to do this today? Or is it pretty much like have you become, because when you first start doing the videos, are you like, okay, now I got to sit and talk to these people for now. But now now you have a following. Is it easier to do it as the time goes on? You've been doing this this will be your third year.
Yeah. I mean, there are times where I'm like, fuck, I don't feel like doing this shit. But once I do it, I always like it because there is never any time where I'm talking about something that I just don't want to do. It's just more or less fitting in the time with other stuff I have to do because on top of this, besides regular live things, you're doing this YouTube channel and doing this band stuff and having to practice drums and music and figure out shows and collaborating with people and design layouts. It's just a lot of shit that it can get overwhelming, but it is rewarding though because you got to have something to make you still feel young, and it does help me in that regard. It's therapeutic, when people get older and they don't have shit to do, man, that's where they start going nuts and depressed or whatever. At least with this, I'm doing the shit that I like, and I talk about bands I like, and sometimes I'm learning about new bands that I didn't know about. So yeah, there are times I get burned out where I don't want to do it, but I'm not going to stop though because it's just an I enjoy it, but of course with anything you get burned out on it.
Yeah. What is who everybody's looking for your page? Where can they find it? Whoever has not checked it out yet.
I mean, I'm on Instagram, Facebook too, but I just have it there as a presence, but mainly Instagram and YouTube. I mean, you literally just type in Mordant Rhed, Mordant, and then Red Rhed, and it should come up. Just because
So
we get
what
the.
with Mordant? Go ahead. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry. Go on. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, go ahead, man. I'll ask you afterwards. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying the red. It's just Rhed instead of Red.
With Mordant Rhed, what's next? You guys you got the split with Humongous, and what's going to go on after that? You guys are going to work on another EP or full length? You're just kind of figuring it out as you go. Like, what are you guys up to now for this 2025?
Just got some shows coming up, and yeah, I mean, what we plan on doing is everything's strategic. So once we get done with this split with Lord Humongous and get it released, and we're going to do a show with them in June, and probably do another music video for one of the songs. And I was talking to the guy from Lord Humongous. We'll probably do what we always do every time we're about to release an album. We'll do a live stream and play a music video on there. So we'll make a music video, and then if Lord Humongous, they make videos too, which are really cool. If you haven't seen, they have a video for their song Toe Cutter, which is Mad Max homage. But so if they have a video, we'll play it on there. So have a live stream to pump that up, and from there to see what happens. I don't want to. We'd like to make new music, but I don't want to overflow because if you just start putting out so much shit like a Gothicles or something, it just gets too much. Like I'm not. I've already heard it. They keep putting out shit where they're just throwing anything on CD or cassette or whatever. I want to make sure there's space between it where there's some interest in it because you know if you put too much, people just don't. It's fucking beeping shit. You put on too much stuff, people don't anticipate it as much.
Yes, man. And anybody wants to find anything with the band? Is there? You guys got a band camp and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. The Bandcamp is on there, and actually, right now, almost everything is sold out. We still have some shirts left, and actually, I did do a zine too. earlier this year.
forgot to ask you about that. I had heard you mention that before.
Yeah, it was called the Kravic, Kravic, and
Is that what you guys put your records out under, right?
yeah,
When you guys
that's
were
our
doing
little our label, so to speak. And how that started is actually Kravic. We were joking around about band names. Let's call it Kravic, and I made up this logo. It looks like almost like some thrash metal shit, and obviously we didn't use it. But I thought let's just name the label that and put that logo on this zine. And I did the zine as just a fun. It's a project to see what happens. Did some interviews, and the motherfucker sold. I sold 100 copies of it really quick, and I guess I should repress it because people keep asking about it, and I was, and that's also the problem with me. I keep taking on too much shit to spread myself thin, and in order to do a zine too, that's a lot of work as well. And I mean, I want to do another one, but that's probably later in the year. So I got to kind of utilize my time properly. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, we definitely appreciate you giving us your time tonight, man. And hanging out with us. Like I said, we started talking last week, I think it was, and we got it set up, and it was like kind of a couple days ago. We're like, let's get this done. So I'm glad you took the time to come on here and hang out with us, man.
No, this has been a good interview, and I listen to your other stuff too. I like it. Like you said, you're prepared. Like that Destructor interview you did. That was fucking great, man.
Yeah, Glenn Destructor. That was I was telling you earlier. That was his first. He's never done a podcast before. We were his first one, man. And they're a great fucking band. Anybody who hasn't heard them. So yeah, it's we're kind of like I said. We don't do the YouTube channel really. We have we put the audio up there. We don't do videos and stuff. But this is kind of what we do. But I definitely appreciate your channel, man. Appreciate you coming to hang out with us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. I'll post some shit up about your stuff as well and get it out there because I think you got a really good thing going on because it's really goes as far as the questions and how your demeanor is, and that immediately caught my attention because that Destructor, when I had that on every time I got in my car, I kept playing it until I went through the whole thing, and also what I like too, the first 20 minutes before you even brought him on, we're just shooting the shit. I enjoy that too. He's talking about upcoming releases and stuff, and sometimes that's also cool to hear when the hosts go back and forth with banter like that. There's a good chemistry, and I enjoyed that shit too.
Yeah, me and Ed have been playing bands together for like 20 years. We've been doing a bunch of other stuff together. So this is what we do now. So, because I moved over to Eastern Europe, so I still spend time in Florida too. But this was the one way we can get kind of hang out and still do music shit together. So that's kind of how it all started. So yeah, we'll definitely have you on again, man. Like I said, I always watch your channel and I definitely appreciate what you do. And I think that it's a good time, man. And I dig the last record you guys did. And, we're actually going to play some Clawhammer too on the way out of here.
Cool. It's been my pleasure, man. This has been a good interview. I've enjoyed it. And again, I'm impressed with your research.
Dude, I'll tell you this. I could literally put a poll out and say, Tony's going to get the guy to say, damn, you did your research at least twice during the interview. I'm telling you, it happens every interview. He catches somebody with something that's, how do I want to say it? Not completely out in the open for people to find, and he finds it. He did it with Jeff Mantis. He does it all the time. And I don't know how he does it half the time. I mean, I know a lot of stuff. I go back to the early days of Tampa death metal, like before the deicides and all that were called what they are. So I have that history, and he has the way he does this is just definitely on another level. So that's
Ed left Jersey before I did, so I grew up in that the Ripping Corpse period. Ed was over in Tampa. I love
fucking Ripping Corpse. Yeah,
I'm older than both of you. I'm older than both of you. I'm fucking old bastard. So
Ed is like we always say, he's the crypt keeper of the show, man. He's
I'm the old bastard. No, but I wouldn't change it because growing up in the Tampa death metal scene as a young kid. You know what I mean? Like when these guys were young. Like you look at Glenn Bent now. I saw Glenn Bent when he was a young fucker. You know what I mean? Like in Amon. Like I saw them in Amon, which to even think about how long ago that was is crazy. But so yeah, that's kind of what I bring to the table. But Tony's research ability is just off the charts. For sure.
Well, it works really well because again, like I said, I liked hearing your banter and that's cool. because yeah, especially being in that early time of Tampa, that's the fucking breeding ground of death metal right there.
Oh,
I mean,
hell
that's
yeah.
some serious history right there. I mean, got into the shit later, but you're right. Being at that time at your age, I mean, I'm sure you've seen so much classic shit. It's
Mike
great.
Browning and Morbid Angel. So
Yeah,
there, and not many people got to see Mike Browning and Morbid Angel. So
Yeah, Ed saw like, because I got the Tampa 94, 95-ish. So Ed had, Ed was going to see the Executioners before
yeah,
they were
before they were Obituary
obituaries
and
and,
that's
Ravage before
cool.
they were Atheist. So,
yeah.
I mean, all the bands that had pre-names, believe it or not.
Yeah,
And I actually, had a little bit to do with the Brutality before they became Brutality that put out, the first Screams of Anguish.
yeah,
I'm talking demo days, Brutality. So it's just crazy that world, seeing Nasty Savage in the early days when, I mean, those kind of things that most people will never get to see. Getting to see Cliff Burton play with Metallica. I mean,
yeah.
that's things most people will never get to do. So,
That
you
is
know,
very true. That's some really cool shit that you experience. That's why I always like to hear people that are older, and it's cool stories like that, And I think it's history that needs to be known. It doesn't need to get lost. All these fucking new motherfuckers need to know this shit. If they don't,
Well, and
well, and
fucking
still
Ed.
being involved, still playing in a
oh
death
yeah,
metal
that
band
too.
all these
Yeah,
years later, man,
And,
it's not.
and not an easy task, Ed, because before you there's Corpse Grinder. So you're in a band where you have to fucking get it done.
Corpse
Ed does get it
Grinder,
done,
Jason Avery,
Yeah, One Eye.
Mike. I mean, I'm coming through some dudes that have been doing some stuff, even Massacre, with Cam.
yeah.
I've been in too many fucking bands, too many bands over the years, but I wouldn't change anything because, I got to live an experience that was most people will never get to live. So it's awesome. And doing this is even better because, we get to talk about stuff that most people, you hear it in some back bedroom somewhere or in a bar when you're shit faced. And, we get to talk about the stuff we've done and all the people that we've got to interview. It's been nothing short of,
Yeah, we had. I know
phenomenal to me.
Ed'll tell you're a movie guy. We had Alan Howarth on here for a couple hours, like last month. He did what, all
I
Halloween
saw that.
themes. Yeah, we had. I
Art
mean,
the Clown. We
Art
had
the
Art the
Clown. We
fucking
had
clown on here.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, David
just
Howard
definitely
Thornton.
cool shit.
So it's
Yeah. I
we
will be
mixed the
definitely
horror.
catching up on some old stuff that you did because I went through and looked at all your old episodes. It's like, oh, I need to watch this. I save this and save this. So
Do the Non-Slaughters Killer.
I want to watch that too or listen to it too.
Fucking King
King
Fowley's
Fowley's
amazing.
great.
Yeah, I mean it's a real,
We've
real
had
deep
so many
episode.
different ones.
Yeah, there's
I
some
mean,
good
Art the
stuff, man.
Clown one is great because it's not just, Terrifier, specific. It's
How he
his
started and all
career, and,
that
and it
stuff.
was really fucking good. That guy was so awesome. And we had, you see the episodes 3 hours. A lot of times we're on 25, 30 minutes before and
Yeah.
sometimes an hour after. I mean, what was Nunslaughter?
The guy's like 4 hours or
Five and a half
something.
hours, six
But it's
hours.
a
I mean,
hangout. That's one thing about our show. It's like a hangout. Like you start talking and it gets like deep, but there's also like, I don't know, man. It's just like
I'll,
it's
Well,
okay
I'll tell you
time.
what, if we had a Patreon page where you get to hear some of the shit that's not on the show, we'd probably maybe
Yeah,
be millionaires because
that's
some of the
yeah,
stuff that people don't talk about are the stuff that people would be like, "Holy fuck!"
yeah. He's right, Revok. Yeah, after the show is usually when he'll be like, we'll have a guest. I'll be like, oh, like this is what I wanted to say, but I didn't want to say it on. And they tell you, you're just like, holy shit,
And
man.
then
There's
when they
some
pop off, we're like,
yeah,
"Holy fuck!" If I was
yeah,
still recording this, man, that would be like see all that shit would be like the Jeff Mantis. It was such a great interview, but they pulled the bullshit. They
yeah. It's
pulled
the only
him
thing they
talking
cared
about
about.
Tony, and that was wrong. They should have pulled because there was stuff where he talked about him and Kronos and those guys getting in a room, and maybe they could do something. But
That's media
instead,
for you, though. That's all they want.
they go to the shit talking one aspect that he did, and that's what gets blasted.
Yeah.
And and I was just like, man, it was such a great interview, and you guys shit on it, by
Yeah.
putting that out. But it is what it is, man. But for sure, this is what we do is fun, man. I mean, all of us, your stuff, our stuff, the
It
band
is.
stuff.
I
Yeah.
check your shit, man. I tell you, when I go to the gym, dude, I'm telling Rhevok, I'm always like, oh, let's see what's going on today. I go check it out. You know, I watch Justin too sometimes. You know, it's just like I said it, but I always check out your channel, man. And you know, it's a good time. That's the thing about it. It's like you said earlier. A lot of people want to be like, I love metal, I'm miserable. But you know what? You have to have a good fucking time too, because life sucks too much,
Yeah, I
man. And
know.
like,
Shit, when
you
I go out to
know,
shows and hang out, we're fucking partying and being loud and acting crazy and shit. I mean, it's I'm not gonna sit at home and there's fucking pussies that are feeling sorry for themselves and shit like that. I don't relate to that.
life's
I
too
don't.
short, man.
Yeah,
You know, yeah. So, dude, appreciate it. Like I said, we'll have you back on here again, man. I'm sure you like I said, I wanted to get you. I figured we'd get you on here. We'll fucking start, we'll start bullshitting once in a while and get this rolling because you know, we're always if you ever have anything you need us to announce or anything, just get a hold of us and we'll keep in touch, man. Totally, because I
yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
you know.
Future do something more based in horror or something like that. I'm
Yeah,
definitely
dude.
down for that.
Definitely.
For
We
sure.
actually we kind of we're in with a couple of the horror cons now over in Florida. So we
Oh,
actually started getting some of their guests. And we actually have I don't know if you remember old Count Gore Duvall, the old horror host, but he's been on our show several times, man. And he's one of the originals. He was Bozo the Clown back in the day. And now,
oh no shit.
yeah, that's where
Yeah.
he written Captain 20 at TV Dracula for many years, but he's been on our show hanging out. So it's definitely a different crew we have, man, but
Fuck,
you're always
Bozo.
welcome.
He tell you some
Yeah,
stories about Cookie the Clown sodomizing people.
Cookie, yeah, Cookie the Clown.
Cookie. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That y'all had him on there.
Yeah, but it was great. Count Gordeval is awesome, man. He like I said, he's been on the show a couple times, and he's still doing it. Actually, he's doing the dungeon online. He's original creature feature host, one of them, and you can go watch that still on there. So we always appreciate him. But yeah, man, we'll definitely have you back, and so what we're gonna do is we're gonna play Clawhammer, which is you and Drucifer. It's Drucifer on bass and guitar, right? And you did the drums and vocals.
Yep.
5 songs on that. Is that sold out now? Or can people still get it from you?
We still have some. It's almost, but it's yeah, we have some left. Few.
Couple titles from that is Axe Wielder for Satan and Satanic Gang Member. So you can, right where you're headed, with that one. So that's still available. But yeah, man, we're gonna play Clawhammer Race with the Devil.
Again, like you pick a record, Satanic Gang Member. What the fuck kind of
How do you
shit
not
is this,
listen to
man?
that shit, dude? How do you not listen to that?
This
It's
doesn't
like
sound like Men at Work to me.
Yeah.
exactly.
Hey,
Isn't it?
another real quick segue before you're about to play that, the sound bite that's on there is from the movie Abby. If you know what that is, it's a blaxploitation exorcist ripoff, and it has William Marshall who plays as Blackula. He's the exorcist on
Black,
there.
yes. Is there any movie that totally like you just couldn't fucking handle? Is there any movie you're just like, you know what, I just can't do it?
With the only movie that usually I don't give a fuck. I'm desensitized, but one movie, and people watch the channel know I've talked about this, is that fucking the Serbian movie.
Oh, I hate that fucking movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I watch.
Y-
Yeah, I just
You
couldn't
know,
do it, man. It's just
yeah, 90% of it, yeah, is just funny. It's just fucked up shit. But there was 2 scenes on there. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I don't even want to
the
say what it
baby
is.
scene with it's
Yeah,
just too.
the other
It
part
is,
about the bitch getting her head cut off and being fucked, I don't care about that. But the other stuff,
but
like,
that
man,
ending scene, man, the
yeah,
ending, that's just like, you know what it is? It's like you can watch a movie and it makes you feel like I remember Last House on the Left. That made me feel like shit when I was a kid, but I still,
yeah.
but
I
that
saw
movie
that as a
is.
kid too, and I shouldn't
Yeah,
have.
that fucks you up. But Serbian film, that's just like different, man. It's like I just don't know. I'm like, it's just I put it like this. I remember when I saw it, I didn't want to. I only saw it because everyone's like, you don't want to see this movie. So of course I had to go watch it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I remember I said to myself after I saw it, I will never watch that movie again, and I stuck to it, man. So call me a pussy or whatever. It just wasn't for me. So
yeah. I
I
know.
get that.
It's funny. I was doing a video with Vincent Crowley. We were talking about that, and we were saying the same things that you're saying. And somebody in the comment, "Oh yeah, these guys are supposed to be so evil metal, but they're fucking scared of a movie." I'm like, bitch, that man. If you like those scenes on there, you can go fuck yourself. Because
Yeah.
that's I'm not
Ed, have
into
you
that
ever seen that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
It was
something
a
you never
one.
forget, though, right? It's
Yeah, it
something
was
you
a
never
one. That was
forget.
a one-time thing for me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
one of those. one of those films you never forget. But so yeah, we'll definitely have you on for a horror episode, man, because like I said, we do try to delve into that, when we can. So yeah, man, fucking, we're gonna play some Clawhammer now. And again, Rhevok, man, we appreciate you. We'll have you back on here. We'll keep in touch, and we'll do this again in the near future.
All right, man. Thanks, Ed, Tony. I'll leave it with "Eat pussy for Satan."
There you go. And we'll say goodbye during the song to Rhevok, and for everybody else, me and Ed will be back after this song. This is Clawhammer, Race with the Devil, off Worship Satan and Kill Yourself. Yeah, and we'll see you back on the Tampa Morgue after this track from Clawhammer.
What do you think of my powers now? You know who I am, don't you?
Silent.
Forgotten my power to destroy enemies?
But not alone. It is in his name that I come now. He and God are as one in power.
Hello, motherfucker!
Into the struggle against the forces of darkness.
Darkness? Bullshit! Wait till I get your ass.
And that was Clawhammer Coven with Race with the Devil from the Worship Satan and Kill Yourself record. And here we are, EP, I should say. Let me correct myself there. And yeah, man, we want to thank Rhevok for hanging out with us. And, definitely an interesting guest, man. Good guy. What do you think, Ed, of your Mordant Rhed experience?
When we did the beginning of the show and I kind of did the wrestling promo, he did not disappoint. That's exactly what I expected, and that's exactly what we got. That was definitely, he's funny. I mean,
makes you bring life to the show, doesn't he?
Because you read the titles of the songs and you go, what the fuck? You know what I mean? You're like, dude, what the fuck? But then when you talk to
The Man
him,
Who Fucked Life is a great title, though. I mean, that is a great
Pussy for Satan, dude, is definitely my top fucking 3 now. But
And if he
But the
puts
thing
that T-shirt would sell, you know it, man. That T-shirt would
oh my
fly.
gosh,
That would be an easy sell right there. So
well, he said his merch is blown out, man, which is
yeah,
great for him, man. But yeah, after talking to him, you could tell this isn't a I worship Satan band. You know what I mean? It's just it's fun. He's having fun. And you know, I've talked about this with you a million times over the years. If we're not having fun playing music, why are we doing it? You know what I mean?
yeah, and
It,
they keep the music nasty and and like they extreme, and it's not a joke band like you at all, But it's like
no,
he also has a good like he does, you don't let it like you can't just sit around and frown all day. And I think that's one thing you get from him. And anybody who's watched his channel, you can 100% see that with Rhevok. It's like
I think the podcast, you know, centers him too because I think he has a good time doing the podcast because like us he's not just music centric, he does the
yeah,
horror, so and he's real. You know, that's the thing about when I watch a podcast, I don't want contrived bullshit. You know, we've talked about like the Garza podcast, and when he talks to people he doesn't do it like our format, but he's a musician. I mean, he plays in Suicide Silence, they're a big band, and he gets some good guests on, like Dying Fetus. We talked about the Chris Barnes one. That was a fucking fabulous.
the Barnes
And
one
I
was a
mean,
good
2
one. That
hours,
and the
I was
Benton one were the
captivated.
two I saw, and they were both good. That's the only two I've
And
seen from him, and they were
Deicide,
both
when he had Glenn on, was great.
yeah.
You know, but I just was telling you, he did Rob Flynn, and it's 4 hours. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to. But I don't know if I could do 4 hours straight because that's just, you know, unless I'm working. But
Unless you're sitting here doing a Tampa Morgue episode, which
exactly, yeah, I'm listening
can
to it right
sometimes
now.
go to 5
and I'm
hours.
trying to copy it. But I mean, but the thing is he's kind of, but he does video and he has a studio and he plays music with the guests and does some cool shit. And he's natural. He's not forcing interviews. And that's what makes it, he's having a good time.
Yeah.
And, you know, Rhevok's having a good time. We do this, we have fun. I mean, the guests we have on, I can't tell you one guest that we got off and I was like, man, I wish we didn't get that person. Like, I
We've been
can't think of,
fortunate, man. We've definitely been fortunate because, like, you never know, right? You just never, even when we do these episodes, you never know what you're going to get.
no. Well, and
you
I
don't.
think, you know, because I remember like when we had the mix up with Knox and when he came on, he like was high energy, just it was great. You know what I mean? And he brought a killer presence to the whole thing and he had a great time. And
Yeah.
I think because we are a documentary type podcast where we, you know, go through the history.
And plus, we're musicians too, so we've lived we've done zines, we've been in bands our whole life. I mean, we've done like we've covered all the areas. I mean, we're not like we've done a lot of shit where we've learned I don't know what you call it. We've learned the system, I guess.
Yeah.
We've had our
like,
hands in every
like
different.
when I went to the Tampa Museum, the metal museum that Death Metal Dave put on, and when I walked in and realized how much of that eccentric history I was a part of. You know what I mean? Like when I was looking at all the flyers and I'm like, I was at those shows and I played that show and I was there, and it kind of, you go, man, being a part of something cool.
Man, I'm fucking old, you say.
Not after I looked at some of the dudes, because I'm like, well, you're older than me and I look better. But, yeah, but you're right. I mean, but like we talked with Rhevok, seeing Cliff Burton, seeing all the death metal bands before they were who they were, Obituary, DSI, we've talked about that 1,000 times. Getting to see DRI in their early days, bands you will never see, like you won't ever see that. And it was, get to see Sanctuary on the Refuge Denied record. I mean, because they opened for Megadeth. That, to me, I'll never forget that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Other people won't experience that,
Right. Overkill, the early days. I mean, I watched Overkill, Motorhead, and Slayer on the South of Heaven tour. I mean, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Those are like times that you'll never, ever, most people could dream of watching those bands. I mean,
and what's crazy is we didn't realize how lucky we were back then during those time periods. Like you didn't know, it was like now you look back and you're like, that's why even now, you get older sometimes. You're like, okay, do I want to, go to a show tonight that's starting at 10 o'clock? And then I say to myself, man, but what if you're missing something that, what if you kind of get this thing in your head where I always feel like when you stop going to the gigs and stuff like that, you're officially old. So like, you know, I mean, no lie to everybody that when you're not 20 anymore and you're not, you know,
No.
you're not 30 anymore, it's a little different than I mean, I remember when I was working in the bar scene and working, I mean, fuck, when we were booking shows at Venom and I was running the door at Venom, we didn't get home till 4:00 in the morning. Like you didn't get there
It's
till 10
rough.
o'clock at night sometimes, man. But it was normal back then because you're younger. It was like,
Right.
now it's like,
Nowadays, it would be
yeah, now I got
terrible.
2 kids, a wife, and I'm like, you know, I like to, you know, I don't mind being home, man. Like I've made my
No.
home,
Well, that's
you know, I've
why,
made my home into a place where I like to be, you know.
like when Carcass came with Sacred Reich, and you know, I'm a huge Sacred Reich fan.
Yep.
I mean, anybody who knows, Phil Rind is one of the reasons I started playing bass and singing,
Yep.
because he's great. Same thing with, you know, Dead Brain Cells. Like I played bass and sang. I mean, there are bands out there that if they came, I would go see them because they were huge influences to me. But you know, I didn't have a ticket; they were sold out. And Sam Molina, thank you, fucking a million times. I guess his girlfriend was sick, and she had bought tickets, and they gave them to me. And I got to see Carcass, and Carcass fucking crushed. And we've seen Carcass on the cruise. We saw Carcass in Orlando.
We saw Carcass
But
3 times in the same week. Remember that was
yeah,
what
well, it
was
was
that?
like a month in the same month
Oh,
because
was
they
it the same
played right.
month? Yeah.
Yeah, they played Orlando. They left the cruise and started touring.
I still can't remember who we saw them in Orlando with because you know the shows start blending together. You've seen so many
I don't
shows.
remember, but I know this show. I don't remember the opening band, but when I got there, Sacred Reich was just taking the stage, and then Municipal Waste, and then Carcass, and that's a great lineup to me. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic lineup, and it was definitely a great show, and I'm glad I didn't miss it because I got to see some people I haven't seen in a while, and you know that's to me where going to the shows is fun.
Even now, right, when I'm in Tampa and I go to the shows, and sometimes because you never know, man. Like we were talking, as we always say in the beginning of our show, you know, we have the you know, we talk about people that we've lost or musicians or friends that you lose. You just never know, man. Like there's been many times that even ourselves, you go to a show, you shake hands with someone, you might never see them again, you know, and that's
Yeah, there's a
reality,
couple
you
people
know.
to this day that I wish I could tell them, you know, some things.
Yeah.
Jared Anderson from Hate Eternal and Internison, that guy, he propelled me to help me to where I grew up because of after the Diabolic thing, you know what I mean? And if it weren't for that guy, I don't know if I would have how I would have recouped because I didn't have any money back then. And you know, he gave me a bass when my shit got stolen and I had nothing. I came back from that tour with nothing, and he was doing the Morbid Angel when Steve Tucker left, and he came into town to practice, and he came to my house and handed me this 5-string bass that I was using on that tour temporarily till they bought me one, and I took it back.
You
Fuckers.
never forget that shit though, right?
No, but he came over and he didn't want no money. I remember I gave him some weed, and he was like, "We're good," you know. But he didn't want no money. He just said, "I got Steve Tucker's old bass, and I got another bass coming. I want you to have this." And I'll never forget that. I will never, ever in my life forget that. And if there was a way to pay it forward, which I hope I have, I would, because I mean, that's the kind of respect you build with people. Because that dude was awesome, and so is
No, you're
Eric
right,
Ratan
dude.
and
Look at
Derek
Jack
Roddy.
Owen.
Huh?
Yeah, I always think of Jack Owen, you know, like, you remember I had all my shit stolen from the club I was working at.
Yeah.
And Jack Owen, no one asked him to do this. Jack Owen, that weekend, when he was living in Tampa, comes to the venue with a stack of records of his own to give me, to
Well, yeah.
replace my stuff that was stolen. You don't forget that stuff, so whenever
No, well, you know my Jack Owen story.
Yeah.
Because Jack Owen got me hooked up with Schecter. Like, literally had me a deal with Schecter when we got back from that tour. And then somebody called and put the kibosh on it because I wasn't in the band anymore. So, but Jack Owen had me a deal. And Pat, you know, Pat too, he called BC Rich. Those guys in Cannibal Corpse did not have to do anything for me. Alex offered me to use his Modulus, his $3,000 Modulus basses. I mean, those guys were always the coolest guys ever. And I will never forget those dudes for that. You know what I mean? Like, Jack Owen will always be at the top of my list for cool fucking dudes because he didn't have to call Schecter. He didn't have to do anything for me.
Well,
But
that's why I always say, man, people don't realize the impressions they leave on you. And I know even back in the day when I was working for the zine and stuff like that, like, you don't forget. You don't forget who treats you like shit, and you don't forget who treats you good. So that's I
no.
will
And
say
his
that.
wife at the time, Michelle. I don't know if you knew Michelle, but his wife at the time I remember she wrote me and said he was very mad that, he got me that, and those, that they did what they did to get it removed. Cause he, he didn't have to do a whole lot. He just said,
Yep.
hey, this dude, used to play your stuff, blah, blah, blah. And it was that simple. And, to hear that he was like angry after that, again, he didn't have to have one thought about me. I was a nobody to him. You know what I mean? But he went above and beyond when he didn't have to. And same thing for you. And there's been a bunch of people that have done that for over the years.
And that's one thing, if I ever had to tell anybody, because we're obviously we're not teenagers anymore. I will tell everybody, man, remember how you treat people, because it always comes back. You never forget. I've, when I was doing the zines, there were people that I interviewed who maybe there was some that are cooler than others. You never forget. I still have relationships with people that I interviewed 20 years ago. It was way different world back then. I mean, but you never forget that. So I always think that to myself. I always try to treat people like I would want to be treated. I try to teach my children the same thing, because, there's no reason being a douche, because it's never forgotten.
We all know everybody has a bad day. We don't know. Like, I've always told people, like my son, when he's like, honk the horn, blah, blah, blah. I said, we don't know what the person in front of us is going through.
Yeah, they might have lost
Maybe he just found out somebody died.
Cheated on them or something.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what people go through. Now, there are assholes out there on the road, and you can always tell the assholes, but you don't know what certain people are going through. And sometimes you have to have a little bit of empathy instead of being an angry person all the time.
Like when I put that bullet in your truck, when I shot your truck the other day.
Yeah, man. I mean, I get it, man. And I'm not even upset anymore. I'm just, but you have to have, and I know I'm the last person to say that, but it's true. I mean,
no, it's
you just
true,
have
100%, man. I mean, we know
people can say whatever they want. I get that stigma, but if you really know me, you know that.
Yeah, we only call you angry Ed because you beat up those children one time at that place, that birthday party. No, we know Ed just from talking to ourselves. Because me and you, obviously, we talk every day. We're like, me and Ed are best friends. There's no falsities about it. It's what it is. So we know. You never forget. Ed knows myself personally. Like, I've had this little things you just keep in the back of your head. You're like, yeah, I can't remember that. I can't forget this guy did this. I can't forget they did that. So save yourself the tag, and just, treat people how you want to be treated. Like Ed said, you never know, someone may have lost their parents that day. They may have lost one of their friends. They might have come home and their wife's with the mailman. You never know.
That would suck.
Yeah, that would suck, So you never know, man. So that's definitely, if I wrap up the show with that, it's definitely a
get your wife's password to her phone. Make sure you're always going through that shit.
Surveillance cameras in the yard,
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I got Ring, baby. You come pulling up on my crib, I'll see you.
When the Amazon truck's outside for longer than 5 minutes, there's a fucking problem.
I measured it. It wasn't my gun that put the bullet hole in it. So I got one for you if you come to my house, mailman. Come on in. You won't be leaving.
That's right.
You'll be delivered.
Episode 84.
In the books.
One in the books.
Thank you, Rhevok. That was
Rhevok, thanks, man, for hanging out with us today. Anybody who hasn't checked out Rhevok's channel, make sure you do. Mordant Rhed, the 2024 album, Eat Pussy for Satan. How could you miss that title? How could you forget that title?
Every time you say it, I giggle. I don't know why.
Yes,
I feel like a fucking kindergarten. I feel like a kindergarten saying something I shouldn't be saying. It's like,
but you'll never forget it, right? If you saw it, you'd be like, you'll never forget that title. Yeah, and everybody else, we did the whole spiel in the beginning of the show. You know where to find us, thetampamorgue@gmail.com. You can email us at the Instagram. You can message us. Thank you to anybody who sends us releases.
Oh, and for anybody who, the tickets have already been won, but Jeff Tate, Friday at Ruth Eckerd Hall, Operation Mindcrime. Supposedly this is the last time he's going to perform it in its entirety. I'm looking forward to it. My wife says she's going, but I think she's going to back out at the last minute, and I'll be taking Bryce, but we'll see. Cause she's like, I don't know this people. I'm like, you grew up, you don't know fucking Queensryche? Are you serious? She's like, well, I know a little bit. I'm like, it's not like I'm even twisting her arm. You don't want to go, let Bryce go. You know what I'm saying? It's like, she didn't want to go to Cooper. And I was like, okay.
How do you not want to go see Alice Cooper?
I don't know. I wanted to get like I want to buy one of those clown sledgehammers. The big ones with the big and bonker, because sometimes I just, Brad Paisley or somebody like that, or some fucking dudes coming to the.
Yeah. How do you not go see Coop? I mean, I've seen the guy
sound, the Ruth Eckerd Hall, the Care Sound. And she's like, I got to get tickets for that. And I'm like, you're on your own. I'll take you to Willie Nelson. I took you to the Avett Brothers. I ain't doing no Brad Paisley. I'm sorry. That's like real country shit, like that I hear in the car every 5 minutes. I ain't going to that. But I will definitely take you to, you know, a Willie Nelson, because that's a legend. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But yeah, so she's going to that. I'm like, so you're cool with that, but you don't want to go see Alice Cooper? What the? I'm like, who the fuck did I marry?
How do you not go see Alice? I don't
But
get
she's
it,
got
man.
her new thing is Legos. She does Lego flowers, like
Better
these,
than
and
crack or meth.
dude, the fucking pieces are so small. I get anxiety looking at her. Like last night, she was doing it in the room for hours, just building these little tiny flowers, and I'm like, I got anxiety watching that shit. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. So that's how we'll end our show.
Shed, actually, in the backyard.
Don't buy Legos.
No Legos. Yeah, that's how that's. Yeah, Legos are for kids, right? They say. Now they're actually not, because I think that I know a bunch of adults that actually use Legos and play with Legos. It's surprising to me, but yeah. Well, Ed, I guess another one in the books, man. Again, next week we have Sulfur from Urn coming on from Finland. Definitely looking forward to that episode. Talk about their history, the new record, Demon Steel, on Osmos Productions that came out. Yeah, and so let's wrap it up. What do you think?
Let's do it. Everybody, thanks again for listening. Ed, I will see you next week, man. Hopefully you get no more bullets in the mobile. See ya!
This is King Fally from Deceased, and you just listened to another episode of the Tampa Morgue. Tune in next week and stay fucking dead.